lost you every now and then. You've lost me. I feel like... Am I still here? Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? Still hear me? Man. Unreal is crazy. We're gonna take the scalability here also down a notch. We're gonna go with medium to make it easier maybe. But yeah, it is doing a lot of calculation. That's for sure. I'm gonna go, yeah, we went live on YouTube. That's pretty good. Let's see if it's gonna survive. We're gonna just test it like this, right? Yep, we'll see. We'll test it. Hello, Eva. Nice to have you here. Am I audible or am I lagging? That is the question, I guess. Yeah, Discord is very resource intense. I'll try to even go on 1080 here because maybe that will help the most. I don't know. I really don't know. Let's see. We're gonna go 1080 on my screen, keep changes, and see if this is gonna help by any chance. And yeah, let's see. It's better now. Yeah, it's on 1080 now, so it should be easier. But let's see. We're gonna... If it is visible for you guys, I'm just gonna keep it like this. So it's easier for everybody, basically. Yeah, okay. If this works, it works, right? What do we have in here? YouTube is complaining. YouTube is receiving enough video to maintain such view, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. We'll figure it out. Okay, everybody, welcome here. Eva texted me on the channel here. It says stream failed to start. Interesting. All right. Interesting. Okay, so I will try it again. I'll try it again. Let's disable the stream and enable the stream again. Window, Unreal. Or you know what? I think we can do an entire screen now. Let's see what we can do. All right. Does this work, everybody? Does this work for you? Is it visible? Yes, sir. Okay, cool. Cool. Finally, we got it working. We just had to reduce it to 1080 to make it work. No lag either. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, then we got it working. Perfect. The menus are all huge. I have like such a big screen, and now, you know, everything is visible here. Perfect. Okay. Good. All right, let's get the thing started. We will start with the actual course. So first of all, I will welcome y'all and say thanks for joining. And also everybody who's on YouTube and everybody else. All right, we're gonna start recording, and I'll probably put like the promo of DoubleJump in here because this course looks pretty neat. So yeah, we'll do some project setup and stuff like that for the first 30 minutes or so. So it's gonna be interesting. All right, so we're gonna go to the course here, and I will start recording. And in 1, 2. All right, let's go. No, we're not gonna record it. Okay, hello everyone. Thanks for joining. And yeah, today we're gonna start a new series with Let's Learn. It's gonna be real-time VFX for games from DoubleJump. We will learn all the cool stuff that come with this. And yeah, we're gonna start. It's a 6-week long, so it's probably gonna take much more than 6 weeks to complete this, honestly. But yeah, let's dive right into it. If you have purchased the course, you will see a menu like this where you go into like the introduction, and you know, you get to get your licenses if you bought the legendary version and stuff like that. And then you have your intro. We're gonna check the intro now and go things. You know, we're gonna just digest things slowly, step by step. All right. Oh, hello everybody. Nice to have you here. Let me have you in the chat.
And think your skills are exactly what we need to make this game visually awesome. Let's get you onboarded. Those are the words I hope you get to hear either
Gonna put it on HD. Sorry, it's gonna lag a little bit, but
first time or more often throughout your career as a VFX artist in the game industry. Thank you so much for joining me and trusting me to lead you through this course and help equip you with techniques and tools used in production so that you can tackle the challenges that come your way while making high quality art. My goal for you by the end of this course is that you will have grown in the areas of craft, collaboration, and completion. There's never one right way to create VFX. It's all about getting to that final result that will look good in game, accomplish the gameplay intent, and be performant so that gamers have a smooth experience along the way. In production, I usually have around 2 to 3 backup plans in case my first plan fails. You may be able to make something look incredible, but if it isn't performant in the engine, then you can't ship it. That is why it is so important to have such a wide breadth of understanding and skill when it comes to this craft. I will focus on understanding
real time is
where
huge,
VFX
guys.
responsibility comes in for props, characters, cinematics, and gameplay logic by giving you an environment and the prop with temporary effects built out for cinematic timing, as well as the environment, so that you can learn how to communicate effectively across multiple disciplines. That way, as you create your effects, you're more well-versed in who you will need to reach out to in the studio in order to accomplish your task. Sometimes things get missed that can be critical for a VFX artist to do their job later on. If you can help identify those areas earlier, then you will not only set yourself up for success, but also help the team win. This course is set up in a way to help you finish even the most challenging of VFX tasks on time and deliver with high quality artwork.
I'm excited,
You
man.
can't do that without a plan, preparation, defining the right path forward, or having a way to manage yourself and your time along the way. That's why I've developed this course with a true production focus in mind. You will have a complete view and understanding of what it will take to accomplish all of your VFX tasks from brief to final polish.
All right,
Let's get
let's
into
go.
what you're going to be learning for this course. For the first 3 weeks, we will focus on the foundation. These will be the most critical weeks for setting you up for success for the last half of this course. We will start with everything you need to be onboarded for your first day on the job in week 1. You will get the brief and lore of the game, the production pipeline to help you navigate and track your tasks, and VFX concepts to help establish the visual target for gaining stakeholder alignment.
I'm gonna
We will
do a
focus
lot of
on
painting.
the
Cool.
importance of quick wins through the creation of 3 different
Hey,
effects
Substance
and
designer.
dive into blueprints and level sequences to help
Blueprints?
set the
All right,
foundation
awesome.
for our effects moving forward. In week 2, we'll be focusing on our research and development phase of the pipeline. This is another critical piece in our
structure.
VFX development. It will help us answer
Some Houdini?
technical
That's awesome,
questions
guys.
early on and explore methods of asset creation to
Let's
help
get into it.
solidify tools needed, pipeline establishment, and a clear way forward. We will dive into Houdini for creating those tools
Oh,
and
man, this
pipelines
is
for
awesome.
quick iteration capability in production.
Special mesh creation
and
in
understand how we
Houdini
can
is awesome.
interface with Unreal and Niagara. We will also build out materials and explore
Hell yeah.
methods of VFX creation inside of Unreal to understand which
Oh my
approach
God,
we
it's
may
gonna be
need
cool.
to take later on. Week 3 will be the final week of our foundational VFX preparation. This week is all about setting up global and master assets to satisfy a wider variety of VFX tasks. We will focus on texture creation techniques inside of Substance Designer that we can use in a wide variety of assets, including dynamic beams and other ways we can influence our materials in Unreal. We will go through more ways to create versatile meshes in Houdini through the power of the Labs tools. Then we
Wow.
will focus on creating elements for our lens flare that can be soloed out to satisfy a wide array of other effects as well. We will also jump into EmberGen to create a looping flame simulation that we will take into Houdini
cool.
to create a packing tool, which will be used to increase the number of frames and resolution we can fit.
If
into
you're
our
still here and you're
Then
hearing
we will
me,
start focusing
the
on
license
creating our
for
master materials
EmberGen did
inside
not
of
work,
Unreal in
so
order
I'm
to
gonna
build out
contact you about
flexibility,
that later.
iterative speed, and consistency in art direction as we tackle the majority of our effects. As you can see, week 3 will be a massive week and will be loaded with
Wow.
content.
Man,
we will
this is awesome.
finally start seeing all of our foundational work pay off in week 4 as we tackle our gameplay effects activated by our first cinematic. We will start by creating an infinite looping debris system that we can pair with our looping
So
crystal
cool.
effects. We will do this by hopping into Houdini and creating a new pipeline and tool for making small mesh chunks we can import into Unreal and time with our crystal fragment animations through connecting our Niagara systems with our blueprint logic. We will create additional blueprint logic for unique character interaction, work on our level sequences for animation and gameplay purposes of our effects, and tackle some more unique cases for effects spawns. Then we will dive back into Houdini for an additional use case with our point cache data and import that into Niagara for some unique particle spawns on our activation ring for our flames. And we will go through more advanced uses of skeletal mesh particle spawns. There will also be a focus on iteration through rounding out our gameplay ability to showcase crafting effects while reusing assets
that's so cool.
created.
Like effects that are on your character, that's so important.
With a focus on our portal activation-based effects. This will further display the power of the tools and pipelines we have set up as we tackle additional asset creation needs and explore more techniques.
Look at those meshes.
This is also a week where there will be a strong
That's
focus
insane.
on visual
It would take you
quality
months in
and
Blender to
proper
do
grounding
this.
of effects elements within the context of their use case. I will also go through troubleshooting issues during production, how to integrate new material logic safely into our master materials, and creating bespoke assets when needed by going through additional creation techniques in Houdini based on our prop mesh for our portal. Finally, we will round out all of our effects for our second cinematic and our level in week 6. While we continue with the theme of the power of iteration and reusability, we will also really lean into the power of our sequencer and stronger ties we can make with it between our blueprints, materials, and Niagara systems. I will go through balancing effects on a shot-by-shot basis and manipulating effects that span multiple shots within our master sequence. There will also be a focus on balancing the look and feel of our effects to make sure they have more visual synergy when they all come together. Once we finish rounding out all of our effects with our portal shutdown, we will tackle a handful of effects through our second art pass. I will address art director feedback and go through some additional strategies and techniques we can use for adding more life to our effects, as well as creating new elements from existing ones when needed.
Okay, is it laggy for you guys?
Everything feel like it blends together in a more satisfying way. Stay tuned for the bonus content at the end of the course.
No audio?
As well. There will be optimization and performance strategies.
That is weird.
Over how to
Yeah, okay, so let's solve this problem. First of all, can you hear me? Am I audible to you guys? Voice audio, yes, you can hear me. Okay, so the audio is not audible. All right, so let's try to solve that problem. I can see that there are issues with Discord. So what I was eventually like planning is to have my virtual camera on, but that is not working. So let's try to fix this problem now. What am I getting here? What is the main issue? Let's see. All right, so I'll do this. I'll sacrifice one of the streams. It's gonna die. Tell me if this is more performative now for you guys. Can you hear the stream?
Properly address color changes for our effects with tech issues you may face along the way as you continue to adjust those, and some additional techniques you won't want to miss. Lastly, I want to address the 2 ways you can approach this course. There will be a verbatim track.
Is this better?
Follow along with me and accomplish a similar result at the end for your portfolio piece, or the portfolio track where you create your own concepts around the context of the level and lore we've established and have a completely unique standout piece for your portfolio at the end. I highly recommend starting with the verbatim track.
Okay, running out of options here. Let me try to... All right, one option for me right now is to kick out from the stream and come back again, because I think that will solve it immediately. So I'll just do that real quick, but I'm not sure if the whole stage will go away. Eva, can you drop into the stage just as a speaker? Maybe we can try to solve this. Yeah, Discord is really weird with these stuff. Eventually, I can give you like the actual link for that. Ah, hey, thank you, Urban. I'll drop out and I'll be right back. Accept. Okay, thank you, Urban. Appreciate it. All right, let's get to the camera and let's share some of the stream here. Gonna go with the entire screen. Screen share. It looks like this Discord is not detecting any input from your mic. How is it not? All right, so we have more issues. Give me a second. I'll try to fix it. All right, now we should. All right, I'm hearing something. Default line, it is the actual mic. It's taking the actual right mic here. Perfect. Arbor, can you say something? Test, test, test. All right, let's try this. Let's see if we can hear.
Follow along with the tools and creation techniques I outline in the course, as well as navigating the troubleshooting and production pivots I take along.
Is the stream well now?
The video is better.
Yeah, all right.
But I cannot hear the audio from you or the video.
From me either? Okay.
No.
Okay. 1 second. 1 second. Okay. Visit settings. Loudspeaker. Loudspeaker. We have the right mic. It's doing actually. Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop every.
Another critical piece in our VFX development. It will help us answer some technical questions early on and explore methods of asset creation to help solidify tools needed, pipeline establishment, and a clear way forward. We will dive into Houdini for creating those tools and pipelines for quick iteration capability in production, and understand how we can interface with Unreal and Niagara. We will also build out materials and explore methods of VFX creation inside of Unreal to understand which approach we may need to take later on. Week 3 will be the final week of our foundational VFX preparation. This week is all about setting up global and master assets to satisfy a wider variety of VFX tasks. We will focus on texture creation techniques inside of Substance Designer that we can use in a wide variety of assets, including dynamic beams and other ways we can influence our materials in Unreal.
All right.
We will go through more ways to create versatile meshes in Houdini through the power of the Labs tools. Then we will focus on creating elements for our lens flare that can be soloed out to satisfy a wide array of other effects as well. We will also jump into EmberGen to create a looping flame simulation that we will take into Houdini.
Sorry to hear that.
Create a packing tool, which will be used to increase the number of frames and resolution.
All right, cool, thank you.
Our flipbook. Then we will start focusing on creating our master materials inside of Unreal in order to build out flexibility, iterative speed, and consistency in art direction as we tackle the majority of our effects. As you can see, week 3 will be a massive week and will be loaded with content.
Oh man, week 3 is going to be huge.
All of our foundational work pay off in week 4 as we tackle our gameplay effects activated by our first cinematic. We will start by creating an infinite looping debris system that we can pair with our looping crystal effects. We will do this by hopping into Houdini and creating a new pipeline and tool for making small mesh chunks we can import into Unreal and time with our crystal fragment animations through connecting our Niagara systems with our blueprint logic. We will create additional blueprint logic for unique character interaction, work on our level sequences for animation and gameplay purposes of our effects, and tackle some more unique cases for effect spawns. Then we will dive back into Houdini for an additional use case with our point cache data and import that into Niagara for some unique particle spawns on our activation ring for our flames. And we will go through more advanced uses of skeletal mesh particle spawns. There will also be a focus on iteration.
Man, this
through
is so
rounding out our
advanced. I
gameplay
can't wait.
ability to showcase crafting effects while reusing assets previously created. We will wrap up our first cinematic effects in week 5 with a focus on our portal.
A lot of the
activation
real-time
based
VFX
effects.
job is
This
just
will further
cinematic.
display the power of the
Like, especially at
tools
the
and
end of the
pipelines
game,
we have set up
you're
as we
required to
tackle
do all the
additional
cinematic
asset
stuff
creation
for the
needs
trailer.
and explore more techniques within Niagara. This is also a week where
I
there will
love
be a
those meshes.
strong focus
They're
on
awesome.
visual quality and
Okay.
proper grounding of effects elements within the context of their use case. I will also go through troubleshooting issues during production, how to integrate new material logic safely into our master materials, and creating bespoke assets when needed by going through additional creation techniques in Houdini based on our prop mesh for our portal. Finally, we will round out all of our effects for our second cinematic and our level in week 6. While we continue with the theme of the power of iteration and reusability, we will also really lean into the power of our sequencer and stronger ties we can make with it between our blueprints, materials, and Niagara systems. I will go through balancing effects on a shot-by-shot basis and manipulating effects that span multiple shots within our master sequence. There will also be a focus on balancing the look and feel of our effects to make sure they have more visual synergy when they all come together. Once we finish rounding out all of our effects with our portal shutdown, we will tackle a handful of effects through our second art pass. I will address art director feedback and go through some additional strategies and techniques we can use for adding more life to our effects, as well as creating new elements from existing ones when needed to make everything feel like it blends together in a more satisfying way. Stay tuned for the bonus content at the end of the course as well. There will be optimization and performance strategies I will go over, how to properly address color changes for our effects with tech issues you may face along the way as you continue to adjust those, and some additional techniques you won't want to miss. Lastly, I want to address the two ways you can approach this course. There will be a verbatim track where you can follow along with me and accomplish a similar result at the end for your portfolio piece, or the portfolio track where you create your own concepts.
All right,
around
portfolio
the
track.
context of
Let's
the
go.
level and lore we've
It's the first time I
established
see this in a course, honestly, the portfolio track. I've never seen a course that gives you two ways to complete it. Now the stream is being really weird, right? Because, oh, no. All right, because I've seen this icon. Anyway, that's cool from DoubleJump. All right, let's keep going.
Have a completely unique standout piece for your portfolio at the end. I highly recommend starting with the verbatim track so that you can follow along with the tools and creation techniques I outline in the course, as well as navigating the troubleshooting and production pivots I take along the way throughout this course. Then you can go ahead and move to that portfolio track where you can create your own concepts, move at your own pace, and still utilize the techniques, tools, and strategies
Thanks for the
I've
follow,
outlined
appreciate
in
it.
this course, or expand upon what you've done to create something that showcases your skill and artistic direction. Okay, I'm sure by now you just want to get started, so go ahead and jump into week one.
All right, let's jump. Let's double jump into it. So first, you will get the files, as you can see here. Yeah, we got the engine versions. I've downloaded this file here, which should give you basically the project file, and there's two project files, but I will go into it later. Then we have the week 1, week 2, week 3 assets. So in case you did something wrong on following something, you were not sure about something, you could check the file. So that's cool that they included that. All right, we're going to go into week 1 introduction, and we'll start with the course.
Welcome to week 1. I am so excited to dive in with you and get started on this awesome journey together. During this first week, we are going to focus on a production level approach to building VFX within a studio environment. So you are the VFX artist at a AAA studio, being given the task to create VFX for a big story and gameplay moment that will set the hero off on his quest for the rest of this game's journey. At the very beginning, you're going to be given a brief to the lore of the story and the requested list of VFX from our game director or art director, whoever the stakeholders are, that are needed to satisfy this incredible moment that is going to launch our character into an incredible realm of adventure. Before we begin
Yeah, just put it on HD.
tackling the VFX needs, we'll look at our VFX production pipeline to make sure we understand the breakdown of our steps involved in the creation process. This will help us prepare our tasks in order to get sign-off and approval along the way. My goal is to treat this like a real production environment so that you're ready to tackle effects efficiently and productively in whatever studio you're working for. This doesn't mean that we're going to work in a linear way, but we will work in an efficient way that will allow us to make room for quick iteration and building foundational assets.
Iterations are
that will
so
help us
important in the
accomplish our
job.
tasks with consistency in art direction and gameplay needs. We'll start off with concepting our effects. That way we can plan our course wisely in understanding what assets we might need and the methods we can use to accomplish creating them. After we understand our needs, we're going to give ourselves some quick wins. This will be important for a morale boost at the beginning of that mountain of a project we have in front of us. We'll build out a master Niagara Ember system so that we can use it across multiple effects. We'll create the textures needed in Substance Designer, but there I'll also show you how to create subgraphs to process multiple textures to save time along the way. We'll create this system in a way that will tackle our most difficult use case for our embers, which will be to spawn it from the emissive runes on our stairs and activation ring using their emissive textures. We'll create parameters that will allow us to use one system for multiple use cases. Then we're going to tackle some of our character effects. We're going to build a character glow through the creation of an emissive Fresnel material function that we can apply to all of our character materials. We'll then use Sequencer to animate parameters so that we can activate this character glow in our cinematic while remaining active for gameplay after the cinematic is over. We'll also recycle our Ember effects by creating a system for our character's gameplay ability to activate the stairs after powering up. We'll do this through the character's animation montage. By the end of week 1, you would have tackled 3 unique effects. You'll have navigated blueprints and their logic, creating complex texture sprite sheets through Substance Designer, creating material functions in Niagara Systems, and using level sequences for gameplay and cinematics. Not only that, but you've also gained the understanding of how to move through a production through the use of the VFX production pipeline and also managing your tasks along the way. You've also progressed in a way that will allow you to work
All right,
on...
cool. Next one. Let's go. Project setup overview. Let's get into it. Let's see what we need to get this up and going.
All right, so we're going to jump into this project file that we have. And if you notice, you have a couple of options on download. There is the EBO or gray block, EBO standing for environmental blockout. You may say gray block on it, and this Megascans full version, which is MS full, if you have it. So in the gray block version, you have a very rudimentary environment. It's just blocked out. So you have
that's one version of the files, by the way.
Just enough to allow you to have something to play in.
Thanks for the follow.
Just in case your graphics card or whatever the circumstance, it becomes a little more resource intensive for you to run it with all the Megascans assets in it. Also, the project file is a little bit lighter, but that option is available, especially if you want to, if you feel like...
Let's see, if we lag a lot with this, with the current full version of the project,
So
we
to
might
give
go
you
back
that
to this
option
one,
in case
just in
you
case.
want to see that. But for the most part, if you can afford to, which I would assume most of you will...
So there's like a basic version,
ahead and
blockout
download
version
the
of the
MS
project, and
full,
there's like the
will
full
have
version
the
of the
Megascans
project with all the
environment in it.
details and stuff.
And as that is the one that I will be working in from the beginning of the project. Okay. Before I run through what all of our folders contain, I just quickly want to show you the plugin we're going to need. There's really only one, I believe.
Okay, so let's get into the plugins and get all the plugins that we need, mostly with the Unreal. And now we're probably gonna lag, but we'll see. Edit, and we'll go to project settings. No, plugins actually. I'm used to Unity so much. Let's go to Niagara. All right, Houdini Niagara, we have it enabled. And if you're wondering how to get that done, basically in your Houdini launcher, oh, sorry, no, not this one. So if you look up for Houdini launcher after you installed Houdini and you have installed all the plugins, so the engine plugins, you go install and then you choose either Unity or Unreal. In this case, it's Unreal. And what you do is you go into your program files, right? So this is something I had to learn right now. So you go to your C, you go into your program files, then into side effects, software, then in Houdini engine. Now wait a second, in Houdini engine, I think. All right, let's go into Unreal. And then you choose the version, right? 5.5, 5.4, or 5.6. It depends. Hey, nice to have you here, Grez. Okay, so 5.5, for example. In this case, we're using 5.4, and it's recommended that we use 5.4. And then we go to Houdini engine. And, you know, we get to see the... all right, so Houdini engine, that is its own plugin. Then you have Houdini Niagara, that is its own engine as well. And we need that one, so you copy that one. And then you go back to program files. Then you go to the Epic launcher, so Epic Games. Then you go to the individual Unreal version. Make sure it's the correct one from the one you copied. And then you go into engine, then plugins somewhere here, and you make sure you paste that. And here we did that. We did exactly that. And if we go into H, Houdini Niagara, it's down there. Perfect. That is why we have it here. And then you launch the project, you open the project, you download it. And it's either the full one or the not so full one. I'm going to hide this. I just opened Houdini by mistake. But basically, when you're in here and you have everything installed, you should be able to see Houdini Niagara. And that is the way you could do this. All right, so back to it. We have that going for us. We will go back into the course. Let's see what the next steps are.
Houdini Niagara. So make sure you have Houdini Niagara installed and checked on. And in order to do that, in case you haven't ever installed Houdini Niagara, you can just Google. I just Googled Houdini Niagara plugin and go straight to Side Effects' website. and then you can download the latest release.
So that is one way to
which
do
in this
it,
project we're
is to
using
go to
our-
actually to the GitHub and like Google Houdini Niagara. But you could also do it from the launcher. But if you don't have the launcher, or whatever reason, you could go to the GitHub and get the 5.3 or 5.4. And I've seen that there was a 5.5 there. But since we're using 5.4 in this project, we'll go with 5.4.
So if a later version has come out and you've upgraded the engine, go ahead and make sure that you have Houdini Niagara for that. I recommend waiting to upgrade the engine until there's a stable release of this plugin. Right now it works for 5.4, so download that and install it according to the directions in your base Epic folder.
Let's go.
Okay, so let's start running through these folders in just a second, but I want to share with you the level blueprint we're just going to create real quick. This isn't in the project file. Something I would do in a map for a temp before I wouldn't submit this as final logic, but something I could do to restart just to make sure that if something messes up or I just want to go back to the beginning, I can level restart. So to build out that restart functionality, we're going to go up to our level blueprint and open that up. You may see event tick down here, whatever it is, but we're going to go ahead and enable our input. And I do this kind of stuff a lot whenever I'm messing with blueprints if I want to use a key. So basically what I'm doing is I'm stealing from the player controller and I'm overriding any of the keys. Now, if there are hard programmed in keys, which we're going to use the R key for restart, this may be a reload key for your character, especially if you have a game with weapons in it. So R might not be available. Feel free to use whatever is. So we're going to open level by name. And we are going to, let me actually disconnect that. You're going to get the current level name first. Then we're going to open the level by name. And once you plug this in, it will automatically convert for you. And that's all we need to do. So
Okay.
it's basically just...
So let's get that quick before I forget all the steps. Let's go back to it. Perfect. So Unreal, here we go. First, we would need to mess around with this thing here, which would allow us to go into the actual level that we are in right now, and we get to play with its blueprints, right? So if we open that one, we wait a little bit until the blueprint editor basically is on and running. So let's see, event begin play, event tick. I guess it looks different on his end. I'm just checking where he was playing around here. Give me a second here. Let me get back to the course and just check. So where did he go? Event graph, event begin play. So that is the one we should be able to see here. Yeah, all right. So event begin play. The first thing he did is he enabled the controller, right? Enable player. All right, so let's go back. Enable input. All right, so you enable your input, meaning it will be able to read the input from the player controller, which we can get by saying get player controller. That makes sense. Very logical. All right, so get player. All right, player controller. Here we go. Now we got the player controller. We're gonna hook that up into player controller. Perfect. So now we said when the actual map or when the actual level is starting, it's gonna get the player controller. Why? Well, we're gonna see why right now. First, we're gonna get the key R. So we're gonna just write key R key, and that should get us the keyboard R key, right? So we're gonna just look for it here. HIJKLMN. Let's see, OPQR. All right, so we have the R. That is working. Okay, next thing is we say get current level name. So when the R is pressed, please give me the current level name. Get level name, right? Get current level name. So the current level is this level that we're in, map mystical portal, right? and it's getting that name. And the next thing that it's gonna do with this is open level by name. So first, we get the current level name and we open that level when we hit R. So basically, it's restarting the level in that sense. So let's do it again. Press R first, get current level name, and then open level by name. So this is gonna be hooked in here, and then there's this pink valve, which I don't quite understand, but we'll get to see. I guess it just gets hooked into the level name. So if we just take that into here, it will create us this converter, almost converts a string to a name value. Target, yeah, okay, so it's basically taking the level name with this node thingy and putting it into the open level by name. We're gonna save that, let it compile, and this should basically allow us to hit R, and then it will restart and get us back there, right, to the same level. Let's see if that's gonna work. First, let's make sure that what we did is actually correct. We are just processing everything. Event begin play, it will get the player controller, boom, done. Then when you press R, please get me the level name, then open the level by its name, right? So let's go.
Reopen our level, our map. So if we play here and I do something, hit R, we're back to the beginning. Now, since I'm already playing this, I just want to go over why there are effects already, why this isn't from scratch. I've already kind of touched on this with how I am approaching this from a production standpoint, but many times, almost every time I've been involved with cinematics or been in a production environment where I have had to come in and provide all the effects for things like this, there's already temp effects. People have put stuff in, cinematics directors have put temp effects in so that they know where the camera's going and they can affect it. Otherwise, it'd be a lot harder, especially for the portal beam, if you notice once our shots kick off here, to know where to put things. So you have a character artist that has already put certain things in the character. You have your environment artist that has already put emissive materials or emissive controls into the materials. The cinematics director has these things exposed and they're trying to uniform some form of art direction already. So colors have been chosen. You see some of those effects. All of the emitters being used right now are extremely rudimentary. So they weren't proper VFX artists like us that are trying to take this on. But you can see a designer's already come through and built the logic for this moment. So things that would be already taken care of.
It's interesting how he's breaking down things like from the industry,
so that I can show you how
like
to
the
work
industry
within
perspective
confines that already exist, as well as how to prepare for making things better. But it's great to already have a framework. And we'll just run through the final cinematic here. You can see the character is supposed to dissolve here, but he doesn't because nobody has built that out yet. There's his soul transfer, and then the final kickoff with a little bit of camera shake. So they needed to put certain things in just for timing purposes. We've been given free reign to retime elements and just make sure that this looks AAA by the time we are done with it. So we will have a lot of freedom to move things around. So with that being said, let's go through our project structure. And by the way, I don't ever take for granted that everybody knows hotkeys. Everybody comes from a different walk of life when it comes to Unreal. I've worked with developers that have been in it for years and years and years, and they don't even know some little trick. Same with me. There are little tricks I learn all the time. So G is the hotkey I'm using to just disable all of the widgets. Okay, let's go through our folder structure. So in our assets folder, this is where our environment pieces are. So if you wanted to take a look at anything from the environment, mostly all Megascans assets that I have put together for this environment. So in this folder, where we're going to spend majority of our time is in these blueprints, and you can see those are reflected. Everything is parented to this portal. So for any reason you want to move this portal around, make sure you're at the top level and you can drag it and it should move its subsequent portal blueprints around. But this is where we're going to be diving in, adding effects, establishing some extra logic. There will be some materials that we need to jump into, but that is our assets folder. All right, moving into VFX real quick, our assets folder is our global assets. So there are certain things that already exist. If you come into your functions folder, there are already 2 functions that exist, and I did not make these. These are engine content assets. If you know what these are, you know where to find them. But if you go all the way down to your engine content, so engine content, go into functions, then it's under engine material function 3, you will see complex motion. That's where I found them. Now, annoyingly so, these are not exposed to the library. So at least I believe they are not exposed. Yeah, they're not exposed to the library. So you actually have to hunt for these if you want to find them. So in every project I'm in, I always duplicate these, give them an effects tag, mf_effects, and then I make them my own and put them in my functions folder. So that's why those exist. Nothing that you're gonna have to worry about creating. Same with this invisible material. This is something that is being used currently for a blockout piece, and we will be using for some of our effects down the road. A real simple material. You can open it up and see. Nothing you have to worry about. So where we'll store all of our.
Thanks for subscribing with Twitch Prime.
There's already a
appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Collection that exists, and if you open this up, you may have tabs collapse. So feel free to open those. These are parameters that are already being used by our artists when they created the portal and the character. I know I created all those things, but I will put you into the production mindset.
Yeah, for real.
So feel free to ask me any questions about these, but I am not having you create the base level of this because those are things to adhere to art direction that are already existing for the other artists to use and make sure that
that's the thing. No one goes in the industry and like works from like a zero project, right? Everybody comes from on a project, gets onboarded on a project that already existed. There's some technical things that are already established and direction that is already established to a certain degree, and you kind of need to work. You need to be able to be flexible to work with any project that already established. So I appreciate that DoubleJump here is not like showing how to create everything from scratch, because that is not always necessarily your job, right?
This as we add more to this
not to be overwhelmed,
but all of the master effects parameters and things like that that we need right now are in this material parameter collection. So that's where that exists.
Yeah.
And then of course we just have 2 tiling textures as if these have already existed in the project. Just a couple of normals, real easy to make. And we will be making a lot of textures as well, but these are already in existence because they are being used in some of the portal assets.
It's cool that the folder's also already structured for you. You don't have to structure them like from scratch. You maybe have to add 1 or 2, but they are already there.
All right, so then level sequences. These are things that already exist to animate. Now this first one doesn't live in the level, so it's not going to animate anything. This is handling the emissive values on our runes and the crystal. But this is being called via a blueprint, so I will show you where that will be as we get further along. These live in the level, so you'll see these influencing the level, like the stairs. This is just to animate those stairs. And I think these also turn on the runes. So yeah, you can see the runes turning on. And we'll be adding some effects to that sequence. And then the crystal shard. This is just looping this. We are going to be replacing this. This is not going to be the final logic, but
it's so cool that stuff already established, because that's exactly how it is when you work in a team.
And make it all cool and animate and everything.
Yeah, I love this.
Then there are some temp effects. Now again, simulating production.
Simulating production,
really low level effects that already exist that the cinematics director could use to plug in to block out the scene.
Absolutely.
Make sure that cameras are placed correctly and their composition is right.
Yep.
Or this could have been something that you as the effects artist gave them and it's all just in one place, stuck in a folder. But what we're going to do is we're going to repurpose a lot of these. We're going to keep them the way they are as far as their name goes, and then work within these systems so that we don't have to replace them fully, which will save us a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go through all of that, and then we'll pull those into our own folders as we start organizing the project along the way. So those are our temp effects. Again, we've been given free reign to do whatever we want with those effects and make them our own. All right, the last thing, really don't need to worry about this. This is Megascan stuff. This is just a couple of extra levels I did while I was developing this course, but you're always going to start with this level. This is just our Paragon Gideon folder, so just get familiar with that we have a Gideon player character here, and then his materials, and we will be going into those materials quite a bit as we look at dissolving the character and giving him this really cool Fresnel effect, and trying to make sure that our character has his abilities with him as he powers up and gets absorbed into the portal. So that is the overview of the project and where we'll kind of be navigating all of our stuff for effects.
Dude, Urban, how
So
many
get
how many
familiar. I'll call
thousands
this
did you
the
give here for
onboarding
free
section
from all
because
those assets?
many times I get onboarded, it's the end of a project. Sometimes
You get a
I'm
full
involved
character,
in the
full
creation of
environment.
these
That's
things,
awesome.
But most of the time, it's at the end of a project. I have to get onboarded, familiar with everything. So this is our great first step. After that, we're going to go ahead and get our brief, and then we'll start working on our concept to flesh out the visuals for this. So wanted to give you a quick overview and setup of the project. So let's go ahead and jump into the next video and look at our brief and see what we will be responsible for in creating this amazing moment.
Cool. All right. Before we go into that, I will just get myself comfortable with the project structure. Again, just saving this. And one of the main things I want to do is actually play this just to see if everything is actually working in our project and we're not getting any errors, right? So we can walk, we can jump, we can click, we can, yeah, we see things are in place. You go here, the actual thing is playing, and if we press R, the level is actually starting. That's what we were working on before. So R makes the level restart. We have the actual, you know, scene here of him turning on the portal. The portal is turning on, and that's what he was talking about, Jesse, about, like, you know, the environment artist, the art director, already establishing all this for you, and or not establishing for you, but blocking it out, kind of just communicating the idea visually by just placing, you know, placeholders and stuff like that. Then you go here, and, you know, the stairs are gonna start going up like that, probably from the game designers, that they already put the logic. And, you know, you have this last scene here where this is happening. So at least we're playing this, we're making sure, all right, so our project is not getting us any errors. It's not completely vanishing. Stuff are still working. Press R and you go back. Okay. Press escape to, you know, get out of there. And the next thing that I would like to do here is get comfortable with the project folder. So like we've seen in the video, like there's two things when you're watching a course, right? There's the, you know, just watching it and think that you understand it, but then there's the aspect of it of you needing to get yourself comfortable with it, like get your hands dirty, right? So let's do that. The more we get that, the more comfortable we're gonna get. So we have in the content folder, we have assets, VFX, cinematics, maps, MS presets. Maps are the levels, the actual levels. And we're going to go back. MS presets, I'm not so sure. I think that's what he mentioned of like what you would already have established for your project. If you're coming onto like a game, you will see like the stuff that are already done for you. For example, the logic that is hidden behind, you know, the actual game here, or mini game, micro game. And we have the actual character here with the maps, with the heroes, which is the main character here that we're playing with. It's gonna take a while to load, but yeah, here we have all the animations, different animations, I guess. I'm guessing here, and eventually, if we keep, yeah, it is animations. Yeah, and here we have the character blueprint. And stuff like that, where we could like place certain effects on the animation or stuff like that, if you're familiar with Unreal. So yeah, we have the characters inside of here in the get-on thingy. And yeah, third person, I guess that's the camera and what we can do with the camera, right? Then we have the assets where the environment stuff are. So for example, if you are unhappy with some of the stuff, you could change them here, or if you just want to change stuff, you could change them here. We have floor, we have cliffs. You want to add like a you know, another asset to it just to change it a little bit, you know, you could do that, fine. We're just going to do that here, right? So we're just playing around, making ourselves comfortable with Unreal a little bit. And one of the main things that they shared with us, Jesse here, he said, you know, with G, you hide the gizmos, right? So G, no more gizmos, right? You're just looking at the project as it is. With the G again, you see it again like that. So yeah, you can make the project you're on. No big deal here. All right, perfect. We're just going to try to do that a little bit here. Make things look different a little bit, you know, go crazy, whatever, right? So we can do that. And that is the cool thing. We're just getting comfortable with the project assets that we're given. So we're playing around with the stuff that we were given and not just taking it for granted. Yeah, I just want to do that. And let's see what else is there. Assets. We have materials. All right, that's cool. Environment. Floor, landscape. What is in floor? There's more floor stuff. Landscape. All right, cool. Props. We have those columns almost. What else is there? Rocks. All right, that's kind of cool. I'm gonna just put one here and scale that thingy down. Whoops, just like this. F to go closer. I just wanna like put it beneath it like this, as if it fell on it, right? So, and I'll place it a little bit differently, like here. Why not, right? We can do stuff. That is cool. All right, so we played a little bit with the assets here. Next thing is to go into the VFX. We have assets, functions. Those are the things that he copied over. And if you place this on anything, it doesn't work because it's just a function. It's not an actual material. So there are things that we're going to use from here. If we double click, it looks like a shader, right? It functions like a shader. But we see how it works here. We will see eventually what we can do with this. Double click on this just to look at it. It looks like this. We can put it on a plane. We could see that it is actually okay. So if I hit R, it should simulate real time, but it's only doing it when I'm pressing on it. Okay, maybe it's a performance issue. We'll see. Maybe it's my PC, maybe it's on my end. And we have an invisible material. If we put it on anything, it will, I guess, will be invisible. And he said this has been used on the blockouts. All right, so cool. We have that. We have a folder for materials. We have a folder for meshes. Nothing in there. But eventually we'll have the VFX meshes here, I guess. Textures. All right, so we got this. This is done for us. It's there. I just don't see the VFX, the temporary. Yeah, those are the... So this is a Niagara effects, for example. That is just simple. If we double click on it, we'll see the simple Niagara system inside of it. And if you there should be a display here. If we open it, yeah. Here we get to see the effect, and we can like change things from here. We can add mesh render instead of sprite render, just as an example, right? If I click on the plus here and I say mesh render, and I hide the sprite render, we'll start see that it is actually doing a mesh here. But the mesh is just basically doing the gizmo as its mesh. But this thing you could change to anything you want. We could even put a rock here if we want. Like let's just add a rock, right? And we can put this instead. And now it's an effect that spawns rocks. But we're not going to do this. I'm just giving you an example of things that we can use this for, right? So we can switch the textures. We can do a lot of things. We can change the movement, etc., etc., etc. All right, so we're going to save that. And we're done like kind of warming up, right? Getting used to the project, what has been handed into us. Things like that. I think that is very important, like as a student, to just play around a little bit. Okay, cool. Now we played around. We're going to go back to the course. We got a little comfortable. Actually, one thing I wanted to do is mainly the play a little bit with those sequences. So cinematics and sequences. We have player power up. This is probably not gonna play, right? Player, portal absorption, shots. This is not the stuff that we can play with, I'm guessing. So that is the thing. Power up. No, I don't think this is gonna play if we click on it. Let's see, what else is there? Blueprints? No, probably not. So maps. Yeah, I don't know where that was. So yeah, I'm just gonna go away from it now. as we don't need it, but it might come again for reference. Yeah. All right. So we played around enough now. Let's go to the next chapter. We're going to click on, so introduction, we're going to click complete and continue. This way we can see the percentage that we are in. Complete and continue. Boom to the next one, which is texture streaming fix. Let's see what that is about.
One other note that, let me zoom here.
Let me get that into HD for you.
One other note that I want
Let's load this thing, wait for it, and hit
to
on.
explain is you may see that red note pop up in the top left corner, which says texture streaming pool over the budget. If you see that, there is a way to fix it
we've seen that
without
problem.
having to go into the INI file. You can correct it in the INI file and permanently and just give it a number. But I didn't do that because I don't want this to affect whatever your graphics card memory is. For me, I have an 11 gig graphics card. I'm using a 2080 Ti. So I'm going to give it a range. If you type down here, texture streaming, you can do this while you're in editor or while you're playing in editor, or you can do this here. So I'll say texture pool size, and then I will do a space and give it a number. So 8,000 is 8 gigs. So I'm going to give it an 8 gig memory. Now I want to do this while I'm playing it.
It's on the
I
bottom
can
left
make
if you
sure
can't see it.
Fixes the issue. So we will play this here. Let it go through. Now while it's running through the cinematic, I can also do this. So r.streaming.pool size, and you'll have the command over there, 8,000. 3. If it pops up again, no big deal. But this will fix it. And you may also start to see some muddier textures while this is popping up, and it's stealing from your resource size. So just want to let you know that now it's fixed. You shouldn't see that error unless you have too much and it goes over that 8 gig size, which then will probably be a problem unless you have a bigger graphics card. So just wanted to give you that little note that it's that r.streaming.pool size space, whatever the gig allotment is that you want to give it to get rid of that message.
Okay. Perfect. At least they gave us a fix, so we understand now where the heck is this red thing that we saw. That is telling us it's, what is it, 170,000 megabytes over the limit of the graphic card memory. So, and the fix is to limit the pool size, correct? Which is r.streaming.pool size. Okay, that's easy to remember since I'm a streamer. Let's get into here and get the thing running, and let's see how many megabytes it's over the limit. It's around 40. All right, so let's do r.streaming.pool size, and this is like a command, right? So you can do the tab, you can do everything you can do with the command. Let's do 4,000 and see if it's gonna happen again. Like you said, we're gonna see like muddier textures and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna go here, play the second scene here. We don't see it anymore. We're gonna press on R and see if we're gonna see it again. If it's fixed, right? So let's see. It's around here or the next scene. All right, yeah, we got to fix 4,000. Should fix it for me. I have 2070 super, so that has fixed it for me. That's pretty cool. All right, so we're gonna stop it and go back to the course, and good thing that we learned about it. Now we have it and we could take it to the next step. VFX production pipeline. All right, so we're gonna go through this and try to understand the pipeline.
All right, so before we begin even creating effects, it's important to know what our VFX production pipeline will be.
For 20 kilobytes per second. Let's go.
So if you open up your documents folder, you will find this document in there called your VFX production pipeline. And I'm going to go ahead and break this down for you. We won't spend a lot of time here, but it is good to know your workflow and what else you will need along the way. Now, I should note that all of these steps should also, depending on the production that you're in, have a ETA attached to them. So for most effects, you may have a scale of a small, medium, large, and systemic type effects. System effects may have, like an entire Pyro system, if you were to create that, may have an elongated timeline that could be a few months, or however much time you have to work on that. You'll need to define that with your producers. But you could do it all the way down to the smallest effects that simply have a day or two timeline. But it's important to give standardized ETAs so you have some sort of ballpark of what it would take to accomplish your effects. With that being said, let's move into it. So in our next video, we're going to address our brief, which should lead into our tasks. But at the beginning of any effect, it's important to get a brief from either the art director, game designer, whoever the stakeholders are that are involved, so that you know what the intent of your effects are, the vision.
It's funny, I had a whole talk about this.
Is going to be accomplished through your effects, how they may be implemented, so that requires other departments involved. Basically, the initial planning of who is going to collaborate with you and who your direct reports will be, or the stakeholders or your approver of your effects will be by the end of it, so that you can keep track of everything along the way and make sure you're checking in with those departments. That should lead to whatever tasks or whatever initial tasks will come out of this, and then after you do your concept, you may have additional tasks that are birthed from that as well. So then moving into the concept phase, this doesn't mean that you will always have a concept. I don't always have concepts for work that I'm doing. Some effects are pretty straightforward.
That is going through, like, give me a second. Yep.
You may be given a concept by a concept artist, so you already have some sort of visual target to hit. But in many cases, it's still a good idea to have a visual representation of what you're doing, even if it's a rough sketch. You can plot out the different timing elements that go into your effect, as well as color, shape, language, all those things that will bring together the final composition, so that you can have sign off early on and not become misaligned with the vision to where you may have to completely start over or have gone in a totally different direction than what the art director or your designers had thought you were going in. And so it saves everyone time to get that alignment on a visual target at the very beginning of the project. So concept's important. After that, the concept should inform where you go from there. I like to move into some R&D. I want to do a lot of referencing, researching, figuring out methods that I may need if I don't already know the methods that I need to be able to pull off some of the effects. With visual effects, there are multiple approaches you can take. It's not always cut and dry.
Yeah.
You will have different ways, different paths that you can go, and sometimes that can be a little overwhelming. So it's important at the beginning to kind of define your direction and your path through your research and development to say, okay, this works. This also might be more optimized. You can also get with a tech artist or an engineer early on and say, hey, I'm thinking about going this direction. Are there any woes to think about? So it gives you a good foundation to stand under if you're moving in that direction. Then moving into blockout and prototyping. This is where I like to maybe build a loose blueprint or something to kick off logic, to show off my effects, to make sure they're working properly, to show the intention. I might build a prototype of something happening in the way.
So just to get this idea across as well, like even more, like in my talk here, I say where VFX lays, kind of like where the like the responsibility is, and it's between the production goals, so the producer, and the tech, which are like the software engineers and the people that are involved with the code and like the code and the art. So you have the art director, your creative director, and stuff like that. So what you can do is keep the VFX between only like the art and the production goals, because then implementation would be difficult, or keep it just between the art and the tech, because then you will take forever to complete, or keep it between the tech and the production, because then the art will suffer, right? So what you need is to make it right there in the middle. You need to keep it in the middle here. So you need to keep those three sections satisfied with everything. So the artists, for example, you would tell them, yeah, sure, cool idea, but technically this is gonna take me 2 months, and you would report that to the producer, right? So your communication need to always be between those 3 elements. And the earlier on you're onboarded, the better, and you're gonna see it in my talk. I left a link there. But yeah, let's continue with the course. Enough about me. It's gonna load. Still loading. Okay, gonna go back a little bit. Let's see if this is gonna solve it.
I might build a prototype of something happening in the way that I am wanting to showcase it, but there's no logic yet developed to make that work. So it's helping to inform designers of where you're going and what you're thinking, and then they can come along and build systems around that, or let you know of the systems they're already developing and what ways you may need to pivot. So you start doing a rough block out with stock assets, temp assets, whatever it is. I try not to spend a lot of time on final art here, just to get representation in and working, so that I can get sign off and approval on that to say, okay, this is going in the right direction. It should be noted that each step should require a validation, so that you are checking in with your direct report or whoever is the stakeholder of this effect along the way. And that will also help protect you from getting all the way to the end and then it being incorrect or, again, misaligned with the vision, and you have to start all the way over. Each one of these tiers is important because it keeps everyone together in the process and makes sure you're following along correctly. So then we move into our first art pass. That's easy. That's just where you're going to create any additional art assets that you need that didn't come from your R&D or your block out to actually make the effects look like you want them to look. I try to go for as good of a first pass as possible, but it's more of a good enough pass for me, knowing that there may be some things that shift and change. There have been times I've gotten approval on first art pass to ship, and that's it. But that doesn't always happen. Usually there's going to be some sort of adjustment from there. So I focus on good enough and move on. This is also where implementation should take place. Almost side by side, if you have a designer who's working on the implementation, you can have them implement your system early to say, here's the system I'm going to be using. That way they can put it in there and you can see it firing off. If it's a gunfire effect or something that requires a system to operate, you're going to want to have the implementation so you can see how it's actually functioning in gameplay. Are your effects sticking to the weapon properly? Are they trailing off? Are things getting wonky and weird? It's important to have those go hand in hand, even if you may be the one doing the implementation, like it's a fire in an environment and you're just going to place it where it needs to go. That's still part of that art first pass, so you can see things in context. Then we move into our second art pass. Obviously, this is once you've gotten feedback from the first art pass. If direction changes, not as a result of your fault or anything like that, but sometimes direction can change.
Yep.
And it's important to pivot with that, but that means you may need to step back in the process. With direction changes, you may have to go back to your first art pass or start back over on block out and prototyping, or it just may be a feature that gets canned. So that wouldn't be a second art pass. A second art pass would be you going after a refinement of the first art pass and making it look better, adjusting to more of the art director's needs here and what would make your effects really sing at this point. That would also hopefully go in tandem with optimization, where you'll be working with a tech artist or a designer or even an engineer to make sure that everything is optimized, working properly, it's performant. You might even have the ability to know, okay, these are things that I've done that will optimize my effect and make it more performant on my own. So you may already be able to program in some optimization steps there, which is why it's important. And again, that could even be a part of your first art pass. You may have some stuff, but here's where we're really going to check that it's performant and that it is working as intended, which means that we might be at a shippable state. By this point, the effect should be as close to shippable as possible, that if things were on fire and you had to pivot away from this effect and go move on to something else, you could ship with this and then fix anything if there's any little bugs or anything after launch. Not that that's the way we want to go, but it does happen where things creep in or a player found that one golden scenario that you never would have thought of, and now you got to go fix something. And that's why that may or may not be addressed prior to launch. However, once you're in that state, you may have the ability to come back for a final polish pass. The art director says, hey, there's that one little gleaming thing that will just make this go over the top. I'd love to see if we can get it in there. Awesome. Final polish pass, make sure it's good. And then you can do any cleanup. As things get messy, you can do any cleanup you need to make that happen. So there's the overview of the VFX production pipeline. Hopefully that makes sense. And hopefully this helps you get a better grasp on your own pipeline and workflow, because this is how we are going to navigate through the course as we try to keep track of all the different effects we're going to be pulling off for this massive portal. So next, let's go ahead and start it all off by going to tier 0 and starting with our brief for the project.
Yeah, so like in tier 0, your communication with all the departments need to be established. In tier 1, you need to like start researching and make sure that your technical reference as well as your artistic reference is basically done for all the list of effects that is needed. And if you've done an art test, for example, you would know an approximate time estimation for each and every effect. For tier 2, which is like the creation, where you're blocking out stuff, here you need to get the block out and prototyping with the art first before the tech. Once it got approved, then you got into the first art pass, which is like, okay, you got feedback from the artist, now you get to complete it, and then your tech communication need to be on point because of the implementation. And then you get the second art pass. Your first implementation might not be performative. The artist might give you feedback, right? So you go through iterations here. And the cool thing about making effects is once you've blocked out one effect, you could probably block out the other effects easier now. So the creation becomes easier because it becomes a more of a variation than a creation. And the whole process gets to be easier. That's the cool thing with VFX, it gets easier by time. The more shaders you have to play with, the more textures you have to play with, the more Niagara systems that you have to play with, the easier it's going to get. All right, so next chapter, project brief. Let's go.
Okay, again, if you have your documents folder, you will find this in there. This is going to be our portal brief. Caveat, I have never received a brief like this. Usually it's me talking with an art director. I'm writing stuff down on paper, putting something in a Miro board, or putting it somewhere else, and I'm taking notes. This is purely for the benefit of moving things along and just giving an organized approach to what the brief is. So know that I would want to know about the lore, I would want to know the context, and I want to know the needs, and so I will write these needs. So this isn't typical of a brief, but here we go. So for the lore, this is kind of setting the stage, getting us excited about the awesome effects that we're about to create. Gideon enters what he knows to be the Cave of Souls. He expects to be greeted by his ancestors, as he has many times before, to receive more guidance on his journey to defeat the Bleak, a nefarious band of raiders led by dark overlords who have set a plague on his nation. Instead, he finds that the Bleak have used their dark crystals along with the ancient summoning stones to trap the souls of his ancestors and export them to a celestial prison to keep Gideon from learning the source of their power to overthrow and defeat them. The only way Gideon can set them free is by summoning this dark force and transporting his soul to this eternal prison. But what he finds there will set him on an epic quest like he has never seen before. So this moment in this game is going to be a very pivotal part of the game, because it is probably towards the introduction of the game and then sets our hero on his journey. So you have a very big task. Players will see this near immediately of them starting up and playing this game. So this is a high honor to be able to work on a big marquee effect like this, and it can also be very intimidating. So that's why we're really going to focus on production, pipelines, workflows to keep us on track and to make sure we deliver on time and successfully. All right, so going into our needs, If you see GP, that just means gameplay, CN, cinematics. So I'm going to look at this here. We know we have an activation crystal, so here we are collaborating with our designers, our art directors, whoever's involved in this feature. We're collaborating with them and we're going through what is needed for the effect. So our activation crystal is glowing softly, fragmented, floating in the air as Gideon and the player enters this cave. Its pieces are suspended by a dark glowing energy that will cause them to fuse together and step back in place on approach. And that would be apparent from the demo that we played through where we see all the temp effects. So we can start putting together what pieces we will need from what we've already seen. Next, we'll see that we have a power-up. We'll need some form of dark energy with a glowing life force in it coming off of the crystal that will be absorbed into his power gauntlets. There will be residual energy radiating from his gauntlets for gameplay, and he will have a celestial glow on his body. The runes will also light up, and there should be some kind of flame and embers rising from them. Next, with the power cables, now this is all in the cinematics, there should be a clear path of energy moving over the cable and towards the activators. Now we know we've already seen the cables.
We've seen that a
light
little
up,
bit, yeah.
And they are masked in a way that pushes them towards the activators already, but in this case we want to see some sort of energy over the cable that really shows that momentum and power as if it's flowing through the cable. So we're going to have to come up with that. Activators and dispersion ring, the dispersion ring being that bronze metal circle in the middle with those crystals on either side. We should see the beam start to flicker, so a little kick on as if you're anticipating it firing like a spark, and then fire into the dispersion tether pads to ignite the crystals. There should be some wispy energy emanating from the activator, so an energy kickoff there, to help visually communicate the idea of this being a celestial guided device. The impact will ignite the crystals, sending an arcing energy from the crystals to the portal beam unit, with an emanating burst of energy flowing from the center of the dispersion ring towards the edge of the portal. Now that can mean many things, and in this course, eventually I'm going to encourage you to go your own way with this and interpret some of these things in an artistic way that allows you to infuse some of yourself as an artist into this. I would love to see you make this as unique as possible. That may be on the advanced side, but still there's room for interpretation here. So it is important to get all of the overview down, and then you can interpret it how you will. All right, the portal beam, again, still in cinematics. Portal beam will flash and fire into the sky, sending waves of energy out from it while it is active. This will carry into gameplay. At this point, the energy will dissipate that was attached to Gideon's gauntlet. So that energy coming from the crystal should be fading down by the end of the cinematic. Now, Gideon is active here. We're going to go to the stairs to be able to activate those to get to the portal platform. So to activate the stairs, the player will perform an action that will let off a burst of energy. As the stairs activate, those runes will light up as well. The effect should reflect the activation ring runes. So the runes on that ring, the activation circle, should be reflected in the way the stairs light up, their runes light up. Those effects should carry over. The effects should not only reflect that, but as the player walks over the steps, those runes will fade and the embers will burst and be absorbed by Gideon. So there should be some sort of burst out, which we've already seen. So we know kind of what that looks like. However, there's no logic there to absorb them into Gideon. So we'll be responsible for creating that. The portal absorption, again, we're stepping back to, as soon as we step on that platform, we're back into the last cinematic. Once the player reaches the portal, the final cinematic will kick off. A bright flash will occur, and then Gideon will begin to disintegrate into the portal beam unit. Once this completes, his soul will burst into the beam and up towards the sky. This will create energy that will burst from the portal towards the camera and effectively shut down all of the effects. So basically an energy kickoff, a blast that will ripple through the atmosphere of this scene to let us know all of the energy is transferred, and now all of the effects will kick off. Then finally, art direction. All effects should be cohesive in color, tone, and feel, and fit within the directive based on the lore of this moment. So there is our brief Now we can go into creating our tasks. Based on this, however, we may have some initial tasks, which may just be create activation circle, create portal, create stair effects, those types of things. But instead of creating our task next, we're going to go ahead and jump into concepting and make sure that we create a concept for each one of those elements so we know what they will look like and how to start planning our journey. So,
all right, so that sounds exciting. The only thing with the portal absorption, it's supposed not to work. So I didn't know that it shouldn't be working in the game. That was not communicated with me as much, I feel. And maybe that's something we can add on, honestly. Like, imagine the whole ground shaking and, you get the dust coming from above. That could be something we can work on, honestly. All right, cool. Let's go to the next one. Concept prep. Let's get into it. It's probably going to be, let's do actually a complete and continue in here. And we have 3%. Look at that. All right, let's get to it.
I'm just going to make a disclaimer right now. I'm not going to go through this entire process of concepting. I will do a time lapse of me creating some of the concepts.
Makes sense.
And you can feel free to watch that video. It's pretty straightforward, and honestly, it is up to your skill set. I'm not a great 2D drawer or anything like that. So you don't have to be either taking a screenshot of different angles of the asset from the game engine, or I will take some captures, video captures, or still images within the game engine environment and use that as a basis for concepts. Since this is very heavy on cinematics, I've just recorded myself playing through the demo, and I put it in DaVinci Resolve. I love Resolve. I've been using it for many, many years, especially as a filmmaker.
Hell yeah.
And it's free. I have a studio license, so I've paid into it, but even that's not very expensive, and it's a one-time deal. So I highly recommend DaVinci Resolve. I use this a lot for gameplay videos that I showcase with my studio. And the great thing about this is it's easy to use, and it allows me to grab stills very quickly that I can export. And I'm familiar with it. So whether it's Resolve or Premiere or whatever your weapon of choice is, for this course or for this moment, I'm just going through some of these cinematic moments. And right here, I would probably take a screen grab to showcase what it looks like with the sparks coming off and the actual portal firing. You don't have to go frame by frame and grab all the moments. I'm really probably only going to focus on a handful. We know that we
just make the video a little
this
faster.
Activation ring, so we're going to want something from there. We're going to want the stairs. We're going to want to showcase what effects we're going to want on the stairs. And I'm going to just show the final versions of these. I don't want to show the anticipation, the build-up, all that stuff. I'm just going to create final versions of what I think the effects would look like in action.
This
and
dude
then we can activate
speaking without moving his
These aren't
mouth.
attacks. It's
Me?
not something I really need to show all of those things for. Maybe for the portal.
There's a delay.
For the activator beams, that's fine. But I'm not going to go through all of that because there's so much to cover. In here, I'd go to the color tab. And once I find a frame that I like, you can see with the stairs, if I find that frame, I'm just going to right-click, grab still. You see the stills pop up, and you can see I've already grabbed a few. From here, I might even use this empty portal image. I scrub all the way through to that. I might even use that as the basis for showing what the portal would look like overall, or I could use an empty image. I will also go into the engine and probably capture some stills of the portal. This is great for referencing, but I'm noticing some of the temp effects that are already in there are polluting the frame, and I don't want those as a basis for what I'm doing. I want to go ahead and just make my own effects. But know that you can grab these screen captures, you can export that, and when you do, just change it to whatever file type you would like them to be exported as. So make it a few screen grabs. All right, so now I'm in the project. I can go ahead and get rid of all the widgets. And for the portal itself, I may get a little closer here and find a screen grab I like of these activators. And just so I can get the final, I have everything going here. I don't really need a shot of the portal beam itself. So I can just Windows key, Shift S will allow my snipping menu to pick up my key and just grab a still of that. And I have my notifications disabled, but it would usually pop up here, and then I can save that image. So I'll go.
Can skip through it a little bit. You get the concept. He's making screenshots, and then he will paint over it, basically.
Quickly make him invisible, hidden in game. Compile that. We'll come back and replace it, and then you can see I get a clean image that I can use to break this crystal up. So I want something like that. but I also want this background clean. So I'll probably take a screenshot with this.
Okay. He's making screenshots of the different elements. The reason I'm not covering this because I will only cover going through the technical stuff. I'll play this just so we understand what's happening. So this is the time lapse. Basically, he's going through the different screenshots that he made, and he's making the concepts of the debris. Just gonna make a bigger, bitrate here to get a better image. Gonna wait for it. Come on, teachables, let's go. Okay, so he broke it down. Then he started creating the semi-portal that's gonna keep everything together with like a shade of blue, and the different lines that are not lines, but like the different elements that are keeping the rocks together, like glue almost from that portal thingy. And yeah, so this will be the concept for the activation ring. And the next thing is, again, these, lines, cables, whatever you want to call it, they're interacting with the character. So we're going to see how that is done as a concept. There's shades of blue, there's shades of purple, and there is also something coming out from the ruin. We see that as well. And now he's taking the cable and making a concept out of that too. And we see that he is making it look more, making it more smoother. He took one, screenshot, I would say, from the fire that he made and creating lines from here. Those will be the meshes that he will create. So I think this stage comes after you've researched some of the workflows that you're going to work with. Yes, and yeah, this is how this is gonna basically look like. And then the next step, so it's gonna be mainly blue, gonna look like a fire a little bit, energy, simulating energy. As to the stairs, there will be like a fire coming out of it with some embers. We see a lot of the stuff being reused over and over again, but that is probably what we're gonna do here. Now, each one of us can do something differently here. It's up for us. So that is exactly what I do when I'm working on a game. I do the concepting in the engine. So I do something called in-engine concepting. And that is when I have an idea from the art director to how it's supposed to look like. And then I would be just doing exactly that, what he's doing, but in the engine with some blockouts. But I'll just show you this because a lot of VFX artists actually do the steps here with like photo bashing or with, with painting actually as well. So that is a proper workflow. There's nothing against it. I just personally like to go in the engine and do the concepting. I feel like it's more hands-on, more involved in that sense. But that's cool too. I could see like why he would go through this. All right, so he's going through the last effect of the soul being transmitted all the way to the top. I like the idea of doing this because you kind of have an idea of what type of textures you want. So I can see it being super helpful. We're personally not going to go with this right now. Sometimes even, the art director is going to give you that concept for you. Or not the art director, but yeah, the art director actually is going to make those for you. But, and then a lot of productions, you don't have as much time. You just need to go and you need to make it in engine as quick as possible. But I can see where this is helpful, honestly. All right, so he's cutting out the character, I can see. And then, taking it out of the image. And then he would start creating the effects on it. Just gonna skip through it here a little bit. Just so we get the idea, basically. Come on. Let's go. Just checking what the next chapters are. We have, so this is the concept. Oh, the dissolve effect, basically, he's creating. All right, cool. Perfect. So he has like almost of a pure reference of what is needed to be done. And all of this you could give back to your art director and they will tell you, now we're not planning it to be like this, we're planning it to be like that, or etc. etc. But like what I'm seeing is photo bashing, some simple layering. It's quite cool. I think I will consider doing this next time, but I really like what he did here. Okay, next one would be concept breakdown. We'll start with that after I go quickly to the bathroom. I'll be right back with y'all. And sorry for the people on the Discord. You will only see my chair for a while. Actually, I'll just disable my camera. I'll be right back, guys. So let's do that. And we just gotta turn off my camera and put the be right back element here. And I'll do just one last virtual camera test before I go, because I don't know why it's not working. It's still not working. Okay, we'll be right back, guys. Actually, I can put that in the chat too for newcomers. We're back. Okay, we're back. So, let's get to it. Let's get to it. Perfect. And camera's on. Let's go. And let's get to the Let's Learn stream here. Good. Let's keep going then. With the concept breakdown part 1. So we do have concept breakdown. I'm just going to check. Let him talk, basically.
All right, so now that we've done our concept, now I want to go through the breakdown so we can begin to...
It's helpful sometimes to just like not do anything and try to grasp the mind from the instructor and try to see how they were thinking about things, you know? That is helpful on its own.
Tasks. See what assets we will need to be able to accomplish all of these effects. Now, I'm not going to go into specific particle emitters, things like that. This is just planning as far as what meshes I might need, what textures I might need, and then what all in all is involved between these. So this is just me making some notes. So I'm just going to create a layer here. All right, do one, activation, ring, energy. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to start over here and maybe zoom in a little bit just so we can see what's going on. As you can see, I have kind of this stringy energy, these tendrils. So we're going to say these will be ribbons. Then we have these fractured pieces. I will probably need to do some sort of fracture setup in Houdini. So I'll make a note of that for myself. Now, these ribbons coming off of this energy down here, I'm gonna tie that in, but make this a mesh.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say that this will be some form of a disk mesh. And I know we've got some pieces here. I don't want my fracture mesh or animation to be too large, have too many chunks, too many small chunks. So I'm gonna fill in the debris. And let me also just make sure this is an animation. So I'm gonna probably put some fractured pieces and probably use a particle system to fill in some debris chunks. So I'm gonna need some debris meshes as well.
The animations he's mentioning is the one where the fracture goes back to the disk, basically. I think.
I'm probably going to
but we get to
use
see that.
some sort of tiling noise texture here. So we'll just say tiling texture. Okay. Now a lot of
More
the
like a
goal
distorted
is going to be
texture.
to tie in these
Well, we'll
effects.
see how that's
so
done.
as I'm moving from effect to effect, I want to keep track of which ones might be connected. And I'll show you that here in a second when I go to this power up energy.
I'm really curious how those ribbons are going to be created.
Layer.
And how they're going to be connected with the like the destruction pieces, the fractured
Okay.
pieces.
So again, these are going to be ribbons.
Yeah. Like, are they going to move? Are they
And
going to do
they look
this?
very similar to my tendrils down here. So what I'm going to do is just switch over to green. And I'm going to say these ribbons are a C1. So I'm going to call that connected. So C1 for me is just connected. That's all it means, and it's just a little shorthand instead of drawing arrows all over the place. So we'll say that's a C1. And the texture that we will use will probably be the same. So we have tiling texture. I'm not going to connect the texture, but we can just say these ribbons will probably be very similar. We have ribbons that are tethered to a point, and we have ribbons that are tethered to a point here. So logic even will be very similar. All right, let's go back to our red color here. And just our last note, you can see that we have these embers coming off of the runes. So I want some form of embers system here. And that'll also
Will also be used for the stairs, I think.
Custom texture that I make. So we'll also need a texture for that. And when I say texture, that usually means, oops, let's go back here. I'm just gonna put that in parentheses as well. Texture will also mean that that's when I'm creating a unique texture. So if I connect this, which I am because I know that I have a lot of ember effects. So just right off the bat, we're going to do a C2. And we can see that the texture will be the same for all my embers. So I won't have to write texture again because that's the only form of my unique texture. All right, let's do this cable energy here. I did it on the wrong layer, didn't I? Yep.
Gonna speed up the video a little bit. Let's do 1.5 on here.
All right, let me just erase that. It's important to have my layers be correct. So let me go back to my power up. Go for C2. And then I need to just erase this. There we go. All right. And we said that's C1. All right, so let's look at our cable energy now. Okay, so we can see as we go through our cable energy here that this is just going to be a texture as well. However, this energy is very wispy. Same with my energy ribbons. So I'm going to make a note here that this may be either another version of a tiling texture or just similar. Same tiling texture. as ribbons. I can just tell my energy is very similar, and I want to try to get as much mileage out of my tiling textures as possible.
Yeah, that's how you have to
So,
think as a
if they stay
VFX
the same,
artist
awesome. If
anyway.
I decide to make another variation, I'll at least explore it, and if I need something different, I can come back to it. All right, let's look at our forearm power-up energy. Okay.
I can see
All right,
the
so let's
ribbon
break down
being
these
used
elements.
again
We
here,
have
but I'm not sure.
a fire, which is going to be pyro simulation. So
Yeah, the
I'll
pyro.
say flame.
Yep.
Not really
The
a fire,
flip
just
book.
the flame, and we're going to say pyro sim.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We also have embers coming off of his forearm. We have
That's the
that
same
connected
texture.
over here.
C2.
So if I go here, I'm going to say C2.
Yeah.
Okay. And honestly, you might need the parentheses. It's just force of habit, but I'm going to leave them. All right. Then we have this little energy mesh right here. Looks like some form of twisting mesh. At least that's how I've intended this. So I'm going to say that this is a twisted mesh.
Those are like the meshes that we're gonna create in
And
Houdini that we saw
I'll
in the
say
beginning.
narrow, because I want it to be a narrow mesh. And I'm just going to say that the texture is the same. Same tiling. Texture. I'll say text. Okay. Then we have a little bit of heat haze coming off of this as kickoff from the flame. So I'll just say heat haze.
Oh,
I'm gonna
heat
say
haze.
a
So we need a normal map heat distortion
for that.
texture, basically.
Okay. Definitely want a couple of normal textures.
It's called
We already have some
refraction
project,
in the
so we may just
shader.
be able to steal what is there.
Cool. Let's
All right,
do
so
it.
we've connected those. There's really not much else kicking off of that, so that's good. So now let's go down here. 5. All right, we have our forearm burst. Now,
Forearm
you can already tell
burst.
we have embers.
That's when the
So,
actual
just
effect
gonna-
is happening.
Again, point to that system.
When you are closer to the
Embers.
stairs. And I think after this
C2.
thing with
I'll stop
the
using parentheses.
activation.
It is a little redundant. C2, there we go. Now we have this radial chromatic energy.
It's gotta be a texture. Probably from Substance Designer that we're gonna do.
And that would need a disk mesh. So what I'm going to plot for it. And if you notice, we already have a disk mesh.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to come back here. We will go down to activation ring energy. I'm gonna
C3.
say C3. Okay. And then we'll go back to our forearm burst.
I really like this workflow that he's
And
showcasing
we'll
here.
say C3. We can use that same disk. Okay. Now we do have a new element introduced. There's a lens flare. So I'm just going to
Texture.
lens flare. And this will be a new texture.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Let's come up to our stair runes. I don't see anything else. There may be a little bit of
Embers.
heat haze in here. I can play
Embers
with
and
that.
Pyro.
I'll just say heat haze.
Heat
And
haze. Okay,
again,
that's
same
C4
things.
then.
This is going to be C4 then. C4. Go to forearm energy just so I make sure I get it correctly. C4. There we go. Okay. Stair runes. And you can see how fast I'm moving through this. It may take you longer. I've done this enough. I know where I'd like to go.
The goal is to literally like make
These
it
effects.
as
Some
repeatable
amazing
as possible.
assets
Like that, you need to reuse the
All right,
assets
so
as
we
much
have
as you
our rune
can.
here. Now again, there is this flame that I've drawn in here.
So Pyro.
I'll say flame. And no need to write anything else. We already have a flame on our forearm energy and glow. Oh, and I missed
C5.
something on our forearm energy and glow. I'll tell you that in a second. After I talk about how much I've done this and how I know where I'm going. So that happens. Okay, so C5 and C5. Thing that I missed here, I just didn't pay any attention to it. I even said forearm energy and Fresnel. I just want to make a note of this Fresnel. There's really nothing I'm going to need to do other than affect the character material. But I would like to make sure I don't lose track of that.
Mm-hmm.
Fresnel on character. Okay, not much of a note. I'm not going to do really any custom textures here because I want him just to glow. Now I will make a note. I have tried in the past on these Paragon characters to use custom textures, do some triplanar mapping on them. Things get wonky, especially if your character's moving. So in this case, it really doesn't need another texture. I'll show you what that looks like. their UVs are kind of mirrored, and it will not look the best if I try to do a moving texture on it. We will notice that on our disintegration effects. Spoiler alert. So I will show you kind of what that looks like. However, that should be enough for what we need for the effect anyway, just making him glow. So not a big deal there.
Okay.
Okay, again, you can already see where this is going.
So basically, I sometimes try to
Before we
imagine
do
myself
that,
having
I
a
also will
conversation
probably
with
put
the
a little bit
instructor, right?
of heat haze here. All right, let's just remember our coding. So Ember's heat
C5.
haze is C4.
Oh, C4? Okay,
So
yeah.
you can connect
Sorry
that,
about
and Ember's is C2.
that. Yep.
So again, all connected. Not much there. Even the burst, the stairs bursting, will have the same stuff. We're not going to do another special anything for the burst. It's just going to be a variation of the Ember system.
Now we have
And
unique
I'm
stuff
getting that
again.
burst from what I saw.
But
so
the
you've already played
desk
in the engine,
is
you've seen
still
the
there.
effects. We know that when we walk over the stairs, they burst, and that was also mentioned in
Disk.
the brief. We
Yep.
want some form of a burst and possibly those gathering into the character. So more will be logic changes there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Activators. Okay. Go through this quickly. Now, before we go ahead and move on to these activators and this dispersion energy effect, let's go ahead and take this to a part 2. I know this video is getting a little long. Again, if you
Let's go
want to
part
move
2.
past this,
Let's
you're
go.
more than
This is
welcome
fun.
to. I know this is one of the more
Complete
just
and
educational
continue.
videos of how we're going to plan and prepare.
Oh, I forgot to complete and continue the concept time lapse. Let's go. And then we're going to go to breakdown part 2. All right, let's go. Play that.
All right, welcome to part 2. Let's go ahead and get back to work on this concept breakdown. All right, we
Kind of wish the, the mic from Jesse was a bit louder, honestly. Let's get play.
already see, I'm going to start left to right here. You can already see that we have a little energy glow or a little energy, wispy energy coming off of the activators. So I'll say wispy energy. However, this, I'm going to probably use a mesh because I really want fine control over how this goes across these activators here. So if I can find my twisted energy mesh, we can see that we already made a mesh that's narrow for our energy and glow. Let me code this as a C5. Oh, did I do that on the Pyro? Did I actually say? Yep. Okay,
C5
sorry.
exists.
C6. There we go.
C6, yeah.
All right, we'll do C6 there. And I will code that here on this wispy energy. So that'll have the same texture and material. We will just do a variation.
Can't wait
Alright.
to learn this
For
wispy
our
energy
beam,
trick.
This is really going to be a spark. I know this looks like a lens flare. I probably could have done a better job here on the concept. The lens flare doing this cross section, I think is going to get a little distracting. And though I like it, I could have done it more horizontal. Again, it's going to impede with the flow of where this is going. One thing I didn't write into this is I didn't go back and allow the emissive glow to happen on the crystals. So what I really want to do here is do some form of a spark. So I'm just going to make spark because it's going to kick up. And that was mentioned in the brief as well, that there's a kick. So this is a spark. I'm going to do a unique texture for the spark. Might be able to get away with the lens flare, but I might need something a little heftier. So I'm just going to make a note to make a new texture. No big deal. Then we have the beam.
That's
Now,
a new
I
asset.
can do this different ways. I can take from a texture that already exists.
Mm-hmm.
We have this kind of lightning energy here that's going through. That I might want a texture for. Or I might want to try some things with the dynamic beam and give it a jitter scale and move it. So for now, I'm going to say beam. This texture on the beam, though, might be some form of a core energy. And if you notice, we have a beam over here. So I'm going to say texture to just create a unique texture for this beam. And we may end up using the same texture as the portal beam. This is just how my mind is working, connecting the two, seeing where that's going. We also have this wispy energy up here. Okay, now that is probably going to require the same narrow mesh and maybe be an iteration of this system. So I'm going to connect that, C6. Then we have this tether energy here. At least that's what I'm calling it. And again, we have very wispy textures going through this, probably going to rely on the same tiling texture. Now, I may make 3 or 4 variations of tiling textures to give myself some latitude. So I may already create, when we go to create our assets, I may just create a few variations of tiling textures and see which ones I end up pulling in which way, I will just create them the same so I can change them out interchangeably. No big deal. All right, the last thing here that we haven't addressed yet is our impact effects. There's impact effects here. Okay, and we will probably steal from the flame, the heat haze, and the embers. So I'll give myself a little grocery list here. Flame, haze, embers. And we will just code those accordingly. Flame is C5, haze C4, and I believe embers is C2. Yeah. Okay. But there's one more element here. I want some form of wispy energy kicking off of this. And we can see that. There's this wispy energy that I really like. I really want this. But it's not narrow. So we have this wispy energy coming off of the activators. But it's going to be hard to stretch that enough to where it's directional. So I'm going to say a wide directional mesh. Now I can variate from this skinny narrow one, so I may just throw in another addition. All right, that's probably the most involved. The last thing on here is we also have this radial energy, and of course we can duplicate what we already did for the forearm burst. So I may make a C7. This was the disk mesh, but this chromatic radial energy itself is something else. So we'll say C7 here. And let's see, I will, whoops. I need to make sure I'm on the right. I've probably done this a couple times, and that's okay. Not that worried about it. Forearm burst, C7. And we'll come over here, and we'll do C7 and C3. All right. Now, one thing I did not put in this concept that I realize is missing from when you play through the engine, you won't see it either, I believe. The only time you see some sort of a glow on the dispersion ring is in the disintegration effect over here. However, I would like to make this glow. So if I don't put it on the concept, I'm just going to do some form of energy glow. And that's probably going to be an overlay material, to be honest with you. Glow. Overlay. Okay. All right. Enough notes on that one. That's getting a little crazy over there. All right, let's move on to our portal beam. All right, so we have this straight beam here. Just say beam. Now, I would think right now it's a dynamic beam. However, what I like to do when I have something that is very tall is do a mesh instead, because I can control UVs, I can control the texture, I can make this a little bit more readable. Plus, if I use a beam, it's going to start repeating the tiling. So I want this to stretch, and I want to be able to still control the tiling, but do it in a way that I have a lot of freedom. So I'm actually going to create a unique mesh for this. I'm going to say beveled.
Hey, Joey. Nice to have you here.
That way, if I create kind of a beveled mesh with this, it'll give it some sort of depth, and I'll just align that to the camera and let it rotate. Our character will never go above the beam, so you never have to worry about seeing.
I'm going to speed it up a little bit.
The texture, I will probably steal from this beam here. They'll probably share the same texture. So I'm going to call that C8 for the texture. Okay.
The lag is also on my PC, by the way. I don't know what's causing the audio glitch here.
C8. I can make a note. That is the texture. All right. Okay, you can already see we have a lens flare here, a complete lens flare.
Yep.
I will not only connect that, but we also have this radial.
Which is
energy.
the disk, yeah. The
You can probably see where I'm
C7.
going here.
C3, C7.
Yeah. Twisted energy. That's when I made the concept, I was going for a twisted energy. Probably doesn't come through as well. Twisted, wispy energy. And you probably realize that all of these are connected to something that already exists. Our radial energy, C7 and C3.
Okay, I think we got the idea now. A lot of parts that will repeat each other, or will repeat over time. Allow me to just refresh the page here. I'm not sure why I'm getting so many issues with the sound. Ah, here's the Excel sheet.
Welcome to.
Let's go.
All
the
right,
beautiful
welcome
Excel
to
sheet
the most riveting
every
part
VFX
of
artist
the
has.
course. I know that everybody wants to talk about their tasks and what this looks like and tackle some form of production. But believe me, this is important. And honestly, this is going to lay the groundwork to keep you focused and organized throughout your production. Now, full disclaimer here, this is not how I track my tasks in production. The reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want you to have to go to another software that you need for tracking your tasks. I want you to be able to see everything right here. If you're at a studio, you already know you're probably using Jira or ShotGrid or some form of tracking software that your producers have put in place to help keep you focused and keep you aligned. Jira is the most common. I've used that in every studio, every project I've ever been on,
Trello.
as well as some additional programs. But here, this is the basic concept. This is how we're going to at least put some form of structure in tracking our tasks. So I want you to see what it looks like just from a high-level view, and then we will use this for this course. But know that the concept is very similar to how I would be using my task tracking somewhere else. So if I get a task created, it's usually at an open status or a to-do status. These are some of the factors that would be used in tracking my tasks. You'll have a lot of other things connected. I don't want to even get in the weeds of those things. Some things will be different depending on what studio you have. But let's say you find yourself on a project where you have to be responsible for tracking your tasks and you don't know where to go. Here's the basic concept. And if you had to create a document like this, at least this is basic enough to keep you moving forward. So what are we looking at? Based on our concept and based on our brief, we have been given all of our tasks for this project. Now, I start off in tier 0 saying we have our brief and task given to us. That has already been done. We've already gone through that. We've looked at that video. So if we have a task created but there's no brief, I won't even start until I make sure I get a brief to know what a game director's thinking, designer, art director. I want to make sure.
I love that he's saying all of this stuff because they're very important.
Forward. So we've been given that. That's complete. Our concept, for the most part, is complete up through our soul travel and our rune burst here. We don't have a total shutdown VFX and we don't have the soul travel graphicked out. Now, I told you I left that out so that you could give that a shot. So I'm going to put in progress. You can track along with me here. And then we will validate that as part of your homework. So if you want to give that a shot and you want validation on that, please go ahead and upload that, and then we will validate. Now that brings me to the validated column here. What that means is that for you to move to the next tier, you will need validation from your art director or approval. So at each step along the way, my goal with all your homework assignments, I know I've explained this, my goal with all your homework assignments is to not get you to do extra work. It's to keep you focused on the production you're in right now. But the part that we will be submitting is the work and the progress you've done to hold you accountable to finishing this course. If you're on that verbatim path, doing what I'm doing. If you're on the portfolio path, then you're creating an original piece around the framework that I've given you, and that will be what we're validating each step of the way. So that should keep us accountable and keep us on track. Now, this validated portion, I'm going to go ahead and validate every part of the concept except for the 2 parts that haven't been done yet. And again, if you would like that validation, then please upload so we can get that going. Now, to-do is everything else right now. We haven't started on anything, so everything is going to be in the to-do column. Okay?
Cool.
There we go. Now that's where we're at right now. As we move along the project, we will revisit this document. I have this as a Google Doc. I have given you this as an Excel doc so that you can also use it in Microsoft, or you can just upload it to your Google Drive and have it there so you can follow along with me on this task. You can create your own form of this. Whatever you want to do, I will give you this document in both PDF form and Excel spreadsheet so that you can track with me. All right? So that's basically it. Again, not going to get too far into the weeds. This is a very high-level approach to this. A lot of times you're
all right, we got that. Complete and continue. Let's go to the next part. Ember system part 1. Finally, we're getting our hands dirty with the actual work now.
Finally back in the engine, which is awesome. I'm glad we are finally here. And again, this whole section is going to be dedicated to our quick wins. So if I approach a major project like this, I want a morale boost. I want something that's going to get me in there, making a few effects, get some stuff blocked out so that I can get things made quickly. And again, I want to just be able to push forward and say, okay, I did something. I'm seeing some progress. So things that we can take care of early. Now we know from our concept, one of the things that is going to be very repetitive is our embers emitter coming off of our runes, our forearm burst. We've got a lot of embers. That's a pretty easy thing for me to set up early on. So I'm going to make a folder and call this Rune Effects. And we're just going to start with our embers system. So we can just do a new Niagara system. I'm not a purist when it comes to this. I also, again, this is production. We want to work quickly. I will always start with the template. It's not worth it creating it from scratch most of the time. We'll call this ns_rune embers. Save that. Let's drag it in. There we go. So we've got that working. Now let's open it up. All right, first thing we want to do, since we're going to have a lot of different embers kicking off, I'm going to change this to GPU. Put it on our GPU. And I like going a little higher with this. Actually, let's do 1,000. I usually set this pretty high.
By this, he means the bounds.
Okay.
And the bounds basically are where the camera is going to look at this thing. I'm going to try to explain it a little bit better. All right, let's see. So let's go into Unreal anyway. We're going to have to start working. So let's go to VFX, assets, fine. And I'll make a new folder. I'll call it NS, Niagara System. And in here, we'll start creating our very first Niagara system for this project, which is going to be a fountain, which is already a preset that exists inside of the Unreal project. So NS for Niagara system, and it's going to be embers, right? So we're going to create some ember effect, and I'm trying to guess right now because it's really good when you're following a course to try to guess what the next step is, because you will just learn that much more. Okay, so we have this. I'm going to make it on full screen for now. And first thing I see already with an amber, you don't need any gravity, right? So we're going to disable the gravity force because we just want them to go upwards. However, I'm going to keep this. I'm just going to disable it like this. I'll make it go upwards. Since there's a lot of those being emitted, it's probably like better to make it a GPU emitter instead of a CPU sim. So we're going to make it a GPU emitter. And the rule with this is like if it's 50 or more particles that you're spawning, probably better to just spawn it using the GPU. All right, so we have GPU, and let's do some more here. I guess he went into fixed or into, where is this? Calculated bound modes. All right, so fixed, and here he started playing around with these values. So what are the bounds? The way I understand the bounds, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. So if we make a screenshot out of this, you have to imagine literally that it is, you know, in a box. So the bound could be as small. You know what? Let's just make a sphere for now. But you have to imagine a box. But I will go with a sphere right now. So if the bounds were that small and the camera literally looks away from that sphere, right? So the camera is going away from that sphere. Let's see how we can do this in Unreal. It will disappear like this. You see, we don't see it anymore. So literally, if the camera is looking at the whole thing here, it will see the sphere and it will emit. But if the camera is looking over here, you wouldn't see anything. Like we saw, the simulation stopped. So what he does here is basically adding a 0 on all of those, basically making it way bigger, that even if you're not completely looking at it, you will still see it. Now this is like it's something that's really helpful for optimization when you have an effect that is not going anywhere. Like this one is literally going upwards like that, right? So we kind of want it to emit all the time, right? Even if I'm zooming in here, I'm still seeing it. So that is the comparison between how it was set before and how it is set up right now, right? So that is quite helpful. So let's keep it like this. And let's try to guess the next steps. So one of the main things I think we will do here is not having it like emit from one point here. Like literally right now it's a cone, right? So we don't want that. And basically it's right there. Add velocity in a cone. Maybe we shouldn't try to mess with this yet, but I will disable it, and we'll go back to the sphere. Now you see that it's literally spawning on a sphere here. And I zoomed out very much away here, so I'll put back the cone here and press F again. Oh my god, this is horrible. Unreal, come on, dude. How can I focus on the thing that I need to focus on? Okay, so we're gonna zoom manually, I guess. Because F is just not working. So I'm gonna keep zooming, Zooming in. If anybody knows another trick to do here, do let me know. But the F is not working. Sucks. Come on. Anyway, so, man, why am I not able to zoom in? How to zoom in even more? Plus, Control plus. How to do that thing? The WASD is not working here. I guess when I press this, nothing will happen other than doing that. And more zooming in doesn't work. Come on. Man, who created this thing? Seriously. How the heck to do this? Shift, right click. Okay, I don't know, but I'm not seeing anything. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll close it, reopen it again. Here's hoping we'll see something. Now we're completely away from it. Who the heck created this, honestly? Oh my god, dude. Okay. Show, grid, anything. Oh, now we're zoomed in like crazy, right? Okay, we see at least we're moving. If I press F. Okay, what the heck? I can't see anything anymore. Where is it? Damn it. I just pressed F and the whole thing broke. Okay. Show, mirror execution order, instruction count, lightweight, lit, perspective, top. Okay. Left, right, front, back. What is front? What does that do? Oh, we're seeing something here. Okay, if I put it in perspective again. Oh man, this sucks. Oh. What was that now? What the heck? Grid on. Oh man, this is the whole thing is lost now. Anybody has any trick for this? I don't know what to do. Okay, I'm just gonna Google it real quick. I have no idea what we've done here. Restart like Unreal completely? You mean? Why? Why would I have to restart the whole Unreal for this to work? That's super unnecessary. Okay, we're gonna do it a bit differently. A new Niagara system. And again, a fountain. Fountain. Just for now. And yes, probably I'm a Houdini guy. It's common there. Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. It's compiling. All right, we have it going here. Zoom out, zoom in. I'm not gonna press F again. I'm just gonna do all the settings that we've done before. First being the GPU, and second being the fixed, and opening those bounds and adding a 0 on everything. Then we start to disable gravity again, and there's really no problem with iteration here. So we're just gonna do that. Perfect. And let's go disable. First, we'll disable the gravity, or we'll put it less. We'll see about that later. So yeah, I think it will emit from a bigger sphere. So shape location, it's right now an 8, so I will go with something crazy like 100. Yeah, so that's making it now emit on a bigger circle or a bigger sphere as to the place it's emitting from. And then we'll go spawn rate and emitter, so we'll go with self. Yes, that's correct. If you put system, it will emit from here. We want it to be a self emission. So let's see what's next. Here, self infinite, infinite, perfect. Loop duration 2. We can make that longer. What else is there? Spawn rate. We have 90 particles spawning. For now, that's fine. Let's up the drag, like make 3 in the drag, and this should give it a drag like this. I feel that we would need a less lifetime, which will be in the emitter state here. Let me see. Is it this one? Let's do 0.1. And nope, that's not the one. Let me check where are the emitter state. Where was the lifetime here? I think I forgot a little bit here. Initialized particle in here. Okay, so it will be a quick thing. So between randomization between 0.5 and 0.6 with a lot of drag, we're getting closer, and that is a bit too fast. So for the actual velocity, if we change this to like 100, they will get... Okay, so what is this? Cone axis. Okay, we're gonna go with the velocity speed. Now it's on 500. We're gonna try something less than that, and 100. So that is not completely a amber, but we're getting close. And we will add, and this is just me guessing, right? We'll add wind, which is in the update here. We'll add wind force. Let's see how that's gonna look. And yeah, so now it has wind, but one more thing that I would like to add is noise, or what is it called again? Something with noise. Curl noise. Yes, that's the one. All right, so the curl noise is gonna make it now. So if I put it to 100, it will go into directions. So noise frequency, let's do 102. And we'll need what is called velocity. What is it called? Aerodynamic drag. Exactly. And we need to take drag out for now, because wind will need aerodynamic drag here. So fix the issue. Should fix it now. And now we will play around with the values here a little bit. We see the alignment here suffered a little bit, but we'll see what we can do about that. Aerodynamic drag, let's add a 10. Is it gonna do something? Aerodynamic rotational drag, let's put that to 0. And yeah, it's still not orienting to the camera, but that we can fix later. Lift contribution, rotation strength, curl noise force. Let's do a 200 on this strength. Why is it not doing anything? Let's see what we can do. Let me see. Maybe no wind here. Let's just try with the curl noise. Okay, what are we getting here? Yeah, it's still too fast with the velocity, so we need to put that to 50 and 100. Yeah, okay. Maybe 150 even. And I liked what the drag did. Yeah, kinda. It's too fast right now. Let's go with 0.7 and 1 like this. It's too much. It's not really doing any amber stuff, because I would like it to do some aerodynamic stuff. But that's why we have the course. We tried to guess, we failed. Not a problem. We go back to the course. So here we go. Coursey is right there. No, that's not the one. Let's go back to here.
That'll keep it in our bounds very nicely. Now, what do we want this to do? We need to start defining that. First of all, we don't want it to be a fountain that really holds gravity. These are embers.
Gravity
There
first,
may be
yeah.
a little bit of a gravity force, but I'd really like to not mess with negative gravity. So I'm going to actually put this up to 5. We're going to set this velocity, say 25. Let's just lower it. Maybe 150. So it's kind of...
That's kind of close to
emanating there,
the
which is
value
nice.
we did.
And then I'm going to randomize my drag. So I'm going to give this...
Ah, yeah, that's a good idea.
force.
So now because we
So
failed, we are
have
able
drag.
to see, okay.
That'll
Next
keep
time
them
we'll
from
do that
really
instead.
spilling out too much. Maybe give this some curl noise.
Curl noise, we tried it, but it didn't work for some reason.
And I like to randomize my strength here. So I'm going to randomize both my minimum and maximum.
Okay.
So right now I'm just doing a regular random, but I'm going to randomize those even further. So I like to give variation. Here's my maximum. Just make sure you keep track of what you're doing. So there's 50.
Oh, he's going up with the numbers.
All right. Some randomness there. So I know this is maximum, and we've got 500.
Okay, let's do those two changes because now we basically know what to do. So the answer was definitely no gravity, but not only no gravity, but also up in the gravity. So the embers can keep going upwards like we see here. So it could be like 100 and they would still go upwards. Could be 1,000. Okay, not really. I don't see any difference here much. Okay, so we're just gonna disable gravity for now. We are gonna disable aerodynamic drag. We will have drag, but we'll randomize that drag. So we'll have a random range float, and it's gonna be let's say between no drag or a little bit of drag, but also a lot of drag. So something between those two values. That's too much drag, honestly. We still need it to go up. Let's try 5 and no drag at all. So it will go between those two values and it should simulate Ember as such. Okay, one thing that I'm thinking about right now is the shape location. It's too big right now, so we're gonna go with a 10 or something like that of that nature. So we're gonna go maybe with like 20 for now, and this will be the Ember. And we will do, okay, so I can see now the drag needs to start somewhere, so we have a little bit of it at least. Next step is I would like the curl noise to start working better, so we'll do a random range on this so that it's randomizing between two values on the strength. But as we see in the course, he did literally double down on the randomness here. So random here and the random here, so it's between, so the minimum is randomizing between two values, the maximum is also randomizing between two values, if that makes sense. Okay, so he goes between 50 and 500, and for the max, okay, so this is the other way around. Let's go with 50 and 100 for the minimum, and for the maximum will be like 100 and 1,000. Okay, and now we're getting this effect right here. I can still see some, how to say, like I see some fading here. Do we have a scale color? Okay, so I'm gonna just disable that scale color for now, just to see it, how it's working. Okay, so one thing I'm noticing here, okay, we're gonna keep then the scale color, that's fine. Let's see, we're gonna go back to the sphere. Okay, so the time here is a bit too less. We're gonna go with 1 and 1.5. Yeah, drag needs to go up. So between a 1 and a 7. Okay, and now the curl noise is doing a lot of stuff. And you know, with curl noise, you have to imagine it like a cheese, right? Like a Swiss cheese, a little bit. So if you reduce the frequency, I'm gonna just try to understand this a little bit for myself. I'm gonna open the snipping tool. So this frequency here on the right, as we see, this one right there, the 100, you have to imagine having like mini spheres that are basically taking these little sprites, you know, around them like this, right? So if you have the frequency to 1,000, let's say, you will have mini microspheres and it will literally make them go between these, right? Like this. But if you have like the randomness to 1, you will have literally, the frequency to 1, you will have bigger holes, right? That the spheres will go around. And it depends on the effect you're trying to get, right? Right now, 100 is too much. We see them even going a bit too random here. So Let's do a 50 instead. Have that, you know, less cheese holes, basically. And the only problem I see here is that they're going downwards, right? So that is something we don't want to have. Maybe the 1000 here it is default, 700 maybe, or maybe 500 instead for the strength of the effect itself. As to maybe here the gravity actually is going to help us if I do 1000 on the up. Yeah, now they're starting to go up, as you can see. Okay, so that is good. Now we're literally flipping the gravity upwards, but we don't want the effect to be too much. So a 10 or, you know, 50 on here. Maybe even 6, maybe even, I don't know, an 80. So it's not clipping through the ground like we see sometimes, right? And this could be our good start for the Ember. As for the sphere here, I'll go with, we could even change it to a cylinder, right? Or to a Touros? No, that's like a donut, right? To a box, to a cylinder, to a sphere, to a ring disc. It should be a disc. Yeah, circle. And let's do 20 on the... Yeah, that is doing a better job on, if you imagine it on the ruin itself. I see that it's emitting way too much. So we'll randomize the emission. Go random. And we'll do something between 10 ambers and 50 ambers. And this will give us this randomization of the ambers here. And one thing I can do right now, and I can see him doing as well, is adding scale on the size. But before I go there, I kind of want to add the wind here and see what's going to happen. Hey, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, everybody. Appreciate you. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, this is not gonna work here. I'm gonna keep it like that. Okay. I'll save and go back to... Let's see. We're gonna go back to the course. Yeah, here we go.
Sometimes it's fun to mess with.
Let's see if what we did was
those.
correct.
Let's see, 350.
The guessing game.
Let's do 500.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate you, Ali. Thank you for joining, Ali.
Do 150.
And, you know, if you want the course
someone gets a
on
little
discount, the code is here. And you can use that
now, what I
link.
want to do, I don't want the shape location to be a sphere.
We'll soon end
I
the
want
stream
it to
anyway.
be from the static mesh. So actually, I'll keep the sphere for now, just so if we do spawn it from the static mesh. All right, so we're going to do a static mesh location. And I'm going to choose to attach this to parent, because this is going to go through multiple stairs. Okay, so we've got multiple stairs we're going to be attaching this to, plus we have this activation ring, so I don't want my default mesh to be what I attach to. So I want to attach it to the parent. We're going to say stair, portal stair 01. It's going to be our first test. So what we need to do next is we need to actually do a sample texture, because we want it coming from the emissive rune, whatever mesh it's attached to. So we want it coming from there. So let's do sample texture.
Okay. That's something I've never done.
We need to find out what the texture is for this stair. So you can see here, it's stairs 1T4, which means stairs 1 through 4. And we're going to need to change this out. So we're going to need to give it a parameter. So let's first find this. You can see portal stairs. I can just copy this name. It's easy. If you're working on multiple screens, it's a lot easier. But I'm just going to find it via the exact name. So just copy and paste that in there. And basically what I want to do is I want to use the UVs from my mesh. So I'm going to have to make sure that the static mesh location, which if we go to our rights, we can see that we have a sampled UV portion for our static mesh. In order to read properly from the texture, we need to make sure that it is reading from the UV.
So this is already way
output.
complex than anything I've worked on. which is super cool because this is what the course is for. Is like mid-level artists that are like looking forward to advance their advance their skills. So to play with attributes right now, that's super awesome.
So let's find our parameters. Particle attributes.
They're called parameters here.
And we find our sample UV, and we're just going to drag that right into the UV part.
Wow.
Now, like I said, we're going to need to swap this out because we're going to be putting this on the stairs, another set of stairs. There's 2 sets of stairs, textures for this, plus our activation ring. So we want to be able to create a parameter that fills in this texture automatically for different meshes.
So we'll make a
right
parameter
now,
for
stairs
2D texture,
1 through 3,
basically.
or 1 through 4, we'll use this. 5 through 7 are going to use a different one, and then our activation ring will have a different texture as well. So we need to be able to write from this. So we're just going to say make, read from new user parameter, and then there you go. It's already populated. Let's call this.
Boy,
just
this is
room
crazy.
texture.
Unreal is crazy,
Yes.
guys.
So we're just going to say make, read from new user parameter,
Okay.
and then there you go. It's already populated. Let's call this just rune texture.
Rune texture. So we'll have
So now
them
we have that
literally
parameter that we can
spawn like a mask exactly from the runes themselves. So this is something that is I've never played with this before. So to have that and to learn that is so helpful.
out when we need to. And the last thing we need to do is enable sample rejection. Now, if you've done this before in the past, you've probably had to use some form of a kill and do some custom module work. Now it's built right into the module itself.
Cool.
Under sample rejection. And we can leave this alone. This is basically saying if A equals B, then you want to kill the particles when they are rejected. So anything that is in the black will be killed. Anything that is white, basically, if we look at our emissive texture, anything that is white is where the particles are going to emit from, and they won't emit from anything that is black. And that's what that's doing. So it's great.
Okay, let's get to it. Let's start working on this example here. Cool. So we want them to not spawn from a ring or a disk. I was wrong here. We'll want them to do something a bit more advanced, which is to literally spawn on the whole static mesh that we are using for the stairs. And to explain that a little bit more, here are those stairs, right? You see that there's a rune in the middle. And what we want to do is now add the static mesh of the stairs. And so let's do that quickly. And to do that, we will just add a static mesh location. And very important is that we need to find our stairs mesh here. And I think we chose 2 in the tutorial. But there are different ones. As for now, we will go with 2. And I think we would also... Okay, what is it giving me? This displayed object has errors. Check the object properties or the message log details. All right, let's enable that. Static mesh location, maybe here instead of... We're getting some errors in here. Source mode, source. Okay, let's see. Let's go back again in the tutorial. We must have missed something since this is a very delicate kind of thing here that we're doing. Delicate in the sense I'd never touched this before. So let's see. All right, so let's go back all the way to when he started doing the static mesh. All right, here we go.
Okay. So we've got multiple stairs we're going to be attaching this to, plus we have this activation ring. So I don't want my default mesh to be what I attach to. So I want to attach the parent. We're going to say stair, portal stair 01. It's going to
Okay, so I can see already where the mistake was. Here we had default and it should have been attached parent, right? And this should... Why are we getting so many errors here? Huh. What am I missing? What am I missing? Okay, let's go back again. It's a lot like this sometimes.
And then someone gets a little carried away. Okay. Now, what I want to do, I don't want the shape location to be a sphere. I want it to be from the static mesh. So actually, I'll keep the sphere for now, just so if we do spawn it from the static mesh.
Static
so we're going to do a
location.
static mesh location. And I'm going to choose to attach this to parent because this is going to go through multiple stairs. Okay. So we've got multiple stairs we're going to be attaching this to, plus we have this activation ring. So I don't want my default mesh to be what I attach to. So I want to attach it to the parent. We're going to say stair, portal stair 01. It's going to be our first.
Okay, so nothing else than that was done here, right? So I can see it was beneath the cone. Displayed object has errors. Check object properties. Let's do stair 1. Stair 1. Why is it still not emit? Oh, we should be emitting right now. Yeah. Perfect. We are emitting. Okay, now it's emitting within the static mesh, right? One thing I would like to do now is go back into the rate and up that thing a bit more. So between 50 and 100, we're going to go with that for now. And now we will start doing our masking from the mesh. So double click on the mesh and we'll see which material it's using. Double click on that. Yeah, double click. Or what is happening here? Okay, so we're gonna go to the folder and put this down a little bit. And now okay, let's see. First, find it in the folder. Then double click on this. Take it into here. And now look into the emission. So it's this texture that we need. This will be our mask going forward. And we'll see how we can make it read through the UVs and everything else. So first we will need a texture sample. So we'll use like a sample texture and we will add this texture. So we'll find it in the folder. Wait a second, we're gonna go here. We're gonna find it in the folder. Then we will replace it here. And this way we don't need multiple screens. We'll just do it like this. Okay. Very important settings here to remember is called sample rejection. Enable sample rejection right there. Okay, but before we do that, we need to kind of like tell it where is the data of the UV that it should take from, right? So for now, just disable this, making sure we're still spawning. We are still spawning. Perfect. So I will enable it again. And one main thing here to look for in the static mesh location, if you click on advanced, there should be parameters, right? Sampling, apply. Where are my parameters? Where was he able to see those parameters? Hide advanced or show advanced. Static mesh, apply sampling. Okay, let me try to think here. It was something with UV. If we search for UV, sample texture, sampler UV, or particle, static mesh, location sampled UV. It's probably this one that we need to play with. Inside of here, we will drag it and drop it into the MIP level, or actually into the UV itself, if I'm not mistaken so far. And this should emit the... Oh, here we go. Here we go. We're having one. Okay, so what I'll do is emitter rate. Where's my rate? We're going to go with 1,000, right? Something huge like this. And now we can see it emitting from the rune. Basically, if I disable this, you will have them all going from the static mesh like this. But since we've added the mask, so to speak, hey, Game Art 101, nice to have you here. You will see it masked now. going upwards as such from the runes themselves. And now if I enable sample rejection, it should reject anything without the realm of the mask and will accept things within the realm of the mask. All right, that is quite cool. All right, learning some new tricks, yeah, guys. All right, so that's quite interesting, quite cool. We are going to go to the next thing now, which will be, let me try to think. So sample texture is done. Yeah, that is basically what we needed. We needed them to go from the rune themselves, and it's quite cool that we can do it from here. All right, so the next thing is to right click on this. Or was it here? Was it here? Or was it here? And we need to make it a parameter. Read from new emitter parameter and read from new particles parameter. Read from new system parameter, or read from transient parameter, or read new from new user parameter. It's probably from a new user parameter, which will be shown to us in the other parameter menu, user parameter, yes. And we will expand it and rename it. How to rename this? Rename. We will rename it to, we have someone commenting, game art says, with the Niagara system to get interesting, good looking effects like explosion and whatnot, can you do it directly from the existing options? Or do you need images, sequences, and alpha from an outside source? So I will answer that basically by saying it depends on the style. So if you're going for a more stylized explosion, you could get away with like spheres that you can make in Blender, and you can move them in a certain way that will make an explosion. So like the work I've done, I'm just gonna go sidetrack here. The work I've done in one of the art tests was literally made exactly like that. You would literally just have an explosion made from meshes. You wouldn't need any textures or alphas. I'm gonna show it to you guys right now. The explosion that I made, and so if you see this one here, this one is all made by spheres and shader work, right? So yeah, it depends on the style. That's what I wanted to say. It depends on the style. And so if you got the style in mind, sure, you could do that easily. But if you, for example, are wanting to do something more realistic, like a realistic explosion, then you would start playing with pyros, right? You start playing with like simulation stuff. I'll show you an example here. So one of the example here, game art, is I made a GIF out of it. One of the streams that I was working on last week, we were able to manage to create this effect here. I'm just gonna pull it up for the viewers in a second once I see it, but I can't see it yet. I saved it as GIF, so that's why it's hard to see. Ah, yeah, here it is. So for example, I'll show you this GIF here. With Niagara system, you could do really cool effects by doing the flipbook that you created from Houdini, for example. You can create this effect here. And this was while I was following another course. But basically, we will also learn this a little bit from DoubleJump. But you should check this. You should check my YouTube channel and check how we made this in the last stream. I'm also working on a summary video for this. And yeah, you should just check that out and how that's done. But yeah, to answer your question, it depends on your style. Other than generating such what? I'm just reading game art. Renders for the sprites. Is there a good place online to get such images for free and or paid? So there are already, like if you Google it, I think even Unreal has an explosion that comes with it, so you could learn from it. But a really, really, really good place to get these stuff from is this place, game art. Check out these guys. And I'm just gonna put it in the comments here. These guys are really doing magic with the stuff. That's where I got this this knowledge from. And they actually go into like the process of how to make an explosion simulation in Houdini and get those textures out and use it like and stuff like that, which we will do here too, but more with Ember Gen. So check these out, and you could use this to get 20 off their stuff. Yes, so I'm just gonna send it here. Probably also Fab, I would assume, since it's an open market for Unreal S. Yes, absolutely. But I think Unreal comes with already with an explosion. Otherwise, reach out, DM me, and I'll see what we can do. DM me, GameArt. I think you already have my Discord. Okay. I think we can get you up and running very quickly with those stuff. All right, so let's go. Let's keep going. Cool. We have made it so the emission is coming right from the runes so far. However, we want parameters that are able to exchange our textures from outside of the Niagara system, right? So this will be our runes texture, runes spawner texture, let's call it. And how can I get it in Unreal? Is it a project on a fab? I think it comes with the starter 3D, like the first, what's called the third person shooter, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, honestly, but I think it does come with the base project. Anywho, let's go to go. Definitely go for it. Check it out. Okay, I'll go for the course again. And I hate that it's not on HD all the time, so we're gonna make it on HD, and we'll see what the next step is. I think the next step is to actually change the mesh as well using parameters. So let's skip through it a little bit. Let's see. Reading.
For our static mesh. In order to read properly from the texture, we need to make sure that it is reading from the UV of that output. So let's find our parameters, particle attributes. Okay, and we find our sampled UV, and we're just going to drag that right into the UV.
We did this.
Now, like I said, we're going to need to swap this out because we're going to be putting this on the stairs. Another set of stairs. There's 2 sets of stairs textures for this, plus our activation ring. So we want to be able to create a parameter that fills in this texture automatically for different meshes that we're using.
I think then when I put the quality up, the sound gets
so right now,
a huge damage.
1 through 3 or 1 through 4 we'll use this. 5 through 7 are going to use a different one, and then our activation ring will have a different texture as well. So we need to be able to write from this. So we're just going to say make
read from user parameter, yeah.
Parameter, and then there you go. It's already populated. Let's call this just rune texture.
Yeah, we did this.
So now we have that parameter.
But I think the next parameter will be the mesh parameter. Let's see.
And the last thing we need to do is
enable sample rejection.
Now, if you've done this before in the past, you've probably had to use some form of a kill and do some custom module work. Now it's built right into the module itself.
This is so cool.
Sample rejection. And we can leave this alone. This is basically saying if A equals B, then you want to kill the particles when they are rejected. So anything that is in the black will be killed. Anything that is white, basically, if we look at our emissive texture, anything that is white is where the particles are going to emit from, and they won't emit from anything that is black.
Like a mask.
And that's what that's doing.
Cool.
So it's great that this is built in. That gives us a great starting point. Now we want to go ahead and set our spawn rate to something pretty high, because when we do this, it's killing off certain particles. So the more that we use, the more will flow out of the emissive texture. However, it's not going to throw out 2,500 particles. There are some that are being killed off instantly, and those particles are still technically spawning. So we want to be aware of that. I also want these to fire off once the system is birthed.
All right, wait a second. Give me a
So
second here. What did he say? Go ahead. What did he
want to
say?
be aware of that. I also want these to
Okay,
fire off
a little bit backward because
the more that we use, the more will flow out of the emissive texture. However, it's not going to throw out 2,500 particles. There are some that are being killed off
that's good.
instantly, and those particles are still technically spawning. So we want to be aware of that. I also want these to fire off once the system is birthed. So I'm going to use a burst instantaneous, and we're just going to leave it at a value of 1, which is fine. Okay, now let's see what our error is here. Errors shown in the Niagara log. Was read before being set. Its default mode is fail if previously not set. I also want to delete that sphere location. Don't want that. Okay, I see what I did. I messed up here. Let's go ahead and renege on that UV position. I wasn't paying attention.
Oh,
So
he
the
took the wrong one.
parameter
Right?
we actually want is not the sample texture, it is the static mesh.
The static mesh. Yeah, that's why I looked for it.
There we go.
That's good.
our
Okay.
problem. All right, so just make sure the reason why is pretty obvious. We're not sampling the texture UV. We are trying to sample the texture from the UV on
The static mesh, yeah.
location. So there we go.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Now we should have that in order. This is in the level, but basically what we need to do is delete this out and put it in our blueprint. So let's open our blueprint
cool.
for our stairs.
Let's get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can see we have a lot going on. There's definitely a lot of things happening in here. So let's find stair number 1. And let's control spacebar. Find our VFX, our rune effects, and then our rune embers. And let's pop them right in there. Rune embers.
From the
They're
parent.
parented. And they are only coming out of the rune, which is great. Now, I do want to move these. I know that these are parented. I want to move the origin directly to where they're coming out of. Because we are going to be adding a flame later, that is not necessarily going to be dependent on the emissive value. So I don't want that on the emissive portion. I want it directly where that rune is. Okay. Now let's just work on some of the particle size. And then we should be pretty good to go. Now let's rename this. NS stair rune particles, and this can be 01. Okay, and that's not on the stair trigger, this is just on that part. Now before we go any further here, I'm going to go ahead and stop there since we've gotten this into our blueprint. In the next video,
Okay, just want to go back a little bit, and he
log.
added spawn burst instantaneous. Okay, let's get that also in the emitter. So one of the main things that I would like to do here, so first of all, we got that correct, the UV thingy here inside of here. This parameter, we got it correct because it's actually taking it from the static mesh. He didn't do that because he missed it, but that's fine. It's good that we got it right. And that's because we're not copying everything one by one. We're trying to understand the base of the course, right? Or of the knowledge, and try to understand that. So now when I go into source mode and it's attached parent, now I understand why that's important to put it on attached parent and not to source or to default or default mesh only or mesh parameter binding. It's important to have it to attach parent because then it's taking the preview mesh from the parent itself, right? So I don't have to make this into a parameter, meaning it's just going to take it, it's going to inherit the mesh of the parent. And then it's going to go and take that UV from the parent and hook it inside of here and just smartly do all the work, right? That's what you kind of want to have to do. Less manual work, more automatic work, right? So we're going to save this. One thing is I will add this burst. So burst instantaneous to 1. Fine, I'm gonna make it to 100 just to see what is that doing, right? So I'm gonna disable it, enable it, disable it, enable it. So it's basically doing a burst in the beginning, right? That's what it's doing, correct? So if I put the timeline here, play it again, it's doing a burst in the beginning, but that's it. All right, so what if this was 1500 and I go back again? And what if the spawn rate was gone? Like just as an example here, right? So no spawn rate, play me that now. Yeah, so it's just, yeah, it's doing those bursts, and it's doing them every now and then. So we'll go with 150, not to go crazy with this, and we'll keep the spawn rate going. Good. Okay, so we have those. Where it's bursting every now and then. It's looking pretty cool. I would like the actual size in the initialized particle. If you go to sprite size mode here, it's randomizing between 6 units and 12 units. I'll go between 3 and 6 instead, make them a bit smaller here. Okay, that is good. We will remove our shape location ring disk, and I'll remove our, let's see, is it doing anything? Yeah, now it's doing something. Perfect. Save that, and let's go and do some blueprinting. All right, so minus that or minimize it, and let's go into the blueprint of things. So here, for example, in the hierarchy, we see stairs blueprint, edit, the stairs blueprint, and we will go into the viewport, look at these things, right, and start hooking our Niagara system in here. One of the main things that I would like to do, what did you say? Control bar space? Yeah, okay, control space bar, and let's put this down a little bit here and go back to our assets in terms of, okay, back to the content, VFX. We did a temporarily? No. Okay, what did we do? Level 1 sequence assets, NS. Okay, so this will be runes, FX runes, like this, and we'll double click on that. Oof. Okay. Where did that go? Okay, again, hide this back here. Assets and FX runes. And here we will do, we'll rename this to Ember's runes. Yes. Okay. Now we'll take this and hook it up in the, all right, wait, give me a second. We're gonna hook it up in here, but first we need to select our stairs, which is the mesh. We will not use the trigger. We're gonna keep the trigger away. We're just gonna place that in here, and it should basically already emit from the parent, which is this mesh. And I will also like it to orient to camera position. This is something we can do later, but I'll do right now. So in the sprite renderer, if we go to orientation, so E-N-T, let's see what we can see here. Alignment, that's the one. To automatic custom aligned, velocity aligned. Okay, what else is there? Facing mode, camera face, camera plane, or just face camera. Let's save that, look at it in the blueprint, see what we can see in the blueprint. Now that it's saved, yes, now it's looking towards us from all locations. Perfect, we got that going. Then the next thing is to go to here, and so minimize this. Here we have our runes. I'll just gonna call this stairs runes. So gonna say stairs runes 1. Okay, perfect. We're gonna copy paste that thing into the next here. And is it emitting from where it's supposed to? Correct, it is, but let's check on the location. It's actually doing the location pretty well. It's a bit too up high, so let's check on this first. Is it high too? If we click on G, where is my keyboard? Oh, this one is there. Okay. So what happens if we put it right on top of the runes like he did? We'll get more or what? Yes. Okay. Let's do that for all the others. Oh, wait. Particles, stair, burst. What does that mean? Oh, we already have something. Stair trigger. Oh, no, no, no. Okay. Yeah, for now, we'll just go with it like this. Because I'm not sure if that's the setup he's going for. We'll go to the part 2 of this. Complete and continue. Ember system part 2. Okay. Let's see what is going on now. I think he will start polishing it and maybe start importing the textures. But since we didn't create any textures yet, I doubt that's going to happen. Let's see.
All right, now I'm going to pull this out so I can just do a little fine tuning. And we can go back to our map instead of looking at this in the blueprint so we can see how lighting in the level is affecting emissive values, things like that. Let's go ahead and go to our sprite size. I'd like to randomize this even further. So we're going to go ahead and random and random. Okay, and we're going to give it a smaller size. You can see they're already in between 0 and 1. So I'll do 0.25, 0.75, and then maybe 1.5 just to get some bigger ones in there with the smaller ones. Now I know I've thrown in some curl noise. This isn't perfect. This is just a test to see how they emit from where they are. So I might turn off curl noise and just look at how they're being pushed out of there and maybe decrease the drag a good bit for now. You can see we're still firing out at a pretty healthy rate. Okay, so now we have a nice little emitter for our runes. Let me go ahead and pop this back up here. Now what I'd like to do is name this NE_rune_embers. And we have one parameter here. We will do more later. All right, before we go any further, I just want to go ahead and edit some of these parameters to make it easier that if we add any sort of variation into this, we can differentiate each one of the stair emitters. So right now we just have this on the first stair, but once we add it to the other stairs, we want something that has a little bit of variety in it. So I want to build in my emitter with a little bit more variety. So we can say make, read from new user parameter, spawn rate. I'm going to change that just because I like to space things out. All right, so we have our spawn rate. Let's just make sure that's still at 2500. Yep. This curl noise force. We also pan this noise field here. Let's see what that's looking like. It's a little strong. I could do a random on this guy too. And do a minimum of 15 and a maximum of 50. Although 50's pretty insane. Let's just lower this way down and make this 75 to 150 and see what that's doing there. There we go. It's probably a little bit better. All right, so what do I want to do here? I will probably multiply all of this by a float. And I'll make a new user parameter from here as well. We'll call this, what did we say? Name, we'll say curl noise strength. And basically we're just going to multiply all of this. Multiply float. Curl noise noise strength, and then same here.
Smart.
Just remember your values, 75, 150, curl noise strength. Okay, and then we can add some variation in there if we would like to. And then the last thing I want to do is just do a scale variation. So in case we want to, we can always manipulate these, but we can do the same thing. Oh, so that's 0.25. Well, it doesn't matter which order I do this in. Well, 0.5 and well, there we go. Okay, and then we'll create
Multiply.
that from here. All right. And this
Size.
will be Ember
Size strength.
scale.
Oh, scale. Okay. Yeah, we can do that too.
Let's also make sure we label this because we will add more emitters to the system. Embers. Embers. And embers. There we go. Okay. So now we should see we took our Ember scale is at 1. Curl noise force is at 1. That's all good to go. Compile. This should play.
It shouldn't do anything because the parameters are all on 0. So he's multiplying by 0
Oh.
right now.
Let's also do this.
What is he multiplying
sure
by
we
1?
take it
Okay,
all-
interesting.
All there. There we go.
Yep.
So now we
The
have
size was not
some
working.
parameters set up. Let's go ahead and create a parent asset out of this. We'll say create asset from this.
Okay,
NE rune embers.
cool. So
Okay.
now you have the fast asset to
Save
create
that.
from.
Now what you should notice is that our user parameters have come through. We still have our rune texture, our spawn rate, and everything
Mhm.
has come through this
Mhm.
parent emitter. Now technically you can't create those in here. They show up, but they are not creatable from here if you wanted to create extra ones. So that's why we created them ahead of time. Again, it's not necessarily of utmost importance, but we do want to keep it consistent. Now you'll notice this little arrow box right here means that it's tethered to the parent emitter. And if you want to remove it from the parent emitter so that any changes you make from the parent don't affect this system, then you can just remove it. And now we're free to do whatever we want.
Cool.
Now, if we add something like a new material, then we won't have that ability anymore. So for now, let's just keep it tethered to the parent emitter. Let's check that it is working. Say if I do a 500 or 50,000 on the curl noise force, that should be pretty crazy. Yeah, see, it will affect our parent emitter.
Nice, bravo. Nice to
Okay.
have you here.
So that's good. So right now, that's good. We want that tethered. All right, that's pretty much it for this part. The next part we're going to do is create our actual texture for our embers and create our material so that we can go ahead and get this looking the way that we want it to. And then we will start populating the rest of the stairs and our activation ring and make sure that it is following the logic that is set up. So there we go. One little quick
Yeah,
one
it's day one.
for us out of the way.
Correct. But we're already diving in deep, so that's pretty cool. All right, so yeah, we've done that. Let's save this, go back to the scene here, see if the blueprint updated. It actually did. It's spawning from the runes. That is quite cool. Now the next thing is to start playing with the Niagara system here a little more. So one of the main things that I would like to do is instead of just playing with the spread renderer here, we need to start creating some parameters, some user parameters that will help us play with this from basically a couple of instances. So one of the main things is I need to start renaming things. So for us to understand that this is only affecting the embers. So embers texture, right? So this is texture emitter, or what should we call that? Should we go with texture spawner? Yeah, texture spawner is fine. All right, so could be mask too, that's fine. All right, so let's go into the next step here, which would be we need basically to start playing a little bit with our curl noise. Where is my emitter? Where are we? Why is it not emitting? What happened? Did I disable something by mistake? Let's see, in a cone, yeah, that is correct. Where is our emitter? Ah, here it is. Okay, perfect. So we need some controllers on the curl noise force, and one way to do that is by multiplying, and I think you can do multiply like this, multiply float, and we just remember our values here. So it's 50 multiplied by 1, and here we do, oh wait a second, did he do that for, yeah, he did that for twice basically. Instead of changing the multiply float here, he did a random, and then on here he did a multiply, correct? So multiply float, and this will be 50, and I will make a parameter out of this. So we're gonna make how to make something out of this. Is this how you do it? All right, so we're gonna make a user parameter from this thing, and we will call it Ember noise. Rename Ember noise force. When I saw an announcement on 2GA, I thought you made a workshop for them, something. No. I hope that's not the case for everybody. Okay, Ember noise force. We're gonna do Ember noise force. Let's see, Embers noise force. Okay, cool. Strength, actually. We need it to be strength. Noise force strength. Okay, strength. Is this how to write strength? Strength. Does anybody know how to write strength? I forgot. Keep forgetting that one. Strength. Let's see. STRENGTH. Okay, so not GN, but NGTH. Perfect. Yeah, we'll keep that to 1, but what we'll do is continue on this matter, basically creating another multiply here, multiply float, and we're gonna make this to 100, which was the case here, and take our noise force strength in here. Okay, next thing is I should get used to this. I should repeat it a couple of times because we need to get used to it. So multiply float 100 and a actual thing. Oh, not the texture, but the number, which will be here. This is our strength. And once again, I should get used to this. I'm so used to Unity VFX Craft that I need to practice this again, and 500. And it will have our strength value. Perfect. So now we're multiplying all these numbers. And what is this doing? Noise frequency. Noise frequency can be, again, randomized. So we're going to do a random range between a 40 and, actually 40 is too much, 30 and 50. And each one of those will have a parameter will be called multiply float, and we have 30, and our noise force strength. And again, a multiply, again another multiply float, and we'll do 50. Actually, you do the same thing in Unity VFX Graph if you think about it. We do that too with the parameters and then we just hook them up. Yeah, we do that if I think about it now. Okay, cool. We got that. Where's our system? It's right there, curl noise, and it's done. So check mark on that. Next thing is that we want a scale parameter, which is in the initialize particle. And we have now between 3 and a 6. But what I'll do is I will make a randomizer. Again, on both of those values, randomizer. And we'll do 0.1 and a 0.5, and from here from 0.3 to the 0.7, and we'll do a multiplier on each, multiply float to 0.1 to a, make that into a user parameter, please. Make user parameter, click, and this one will be called Embers. Come on, help me, God. All right, so Embers, text, scale strength. Yeah, I mean, it's fine like that too. All right, so we have the scale. It is there, and we need another one. Multiply with a 0.5. There we go. We're gonna have a 0.5 here, the original value. Then we get the scale in here. Boom, in here. Next one, again, multiply float 0.3 to the scale. Get the scale from here, boom. And again, multiply. Here we go, and it's gonna be 0.7, and we're gonna drag our Ember scale from here. And we see it here emitting slowly but surely. Yes, it is emitting. We're gonna save. We're gonna go back to the scene, to the thingy here, and we see them right there. Now, if we want to click on the, so I have to open the thingy, then go in here, and then zoom in, right? And hide the gizmo. Why is it not hiding it in the blueprint? That's weird. Okay, so do I have now my user parameter here? Ember noise force strength 1. Exactly. Texture user parameter. Nothing, but I could change the texture from the rooms. That's good. So we can use it for other stuff. Other than the stairs, that meaning, you know. And Ember scale, let's do a 10, and these should make them bigger. As we see here, is the case right now. And so we can update the scale as such or make it even smaller. So I can make it 1.5 to make it a bit bigger. Then I can take a look at the Ember force and make it like a 70% of its actual strength, right, to 0.6 maybe. And yeah, it will look like this. As to the size, maybe 1.8 just to see them a bit more. I will click away to see. All right, so the scale is definitely suffering here. I will go back to the Niagara system and start playing with these values. So 0.7 to 0.7, and here 0.7 to 1.5. Save. And so we have smaller ones and bigger ones as well, as we can see here is the case. Now the velocity is literally doing a lot of work. So I will add a parameter for the velocity now that we know how to make parameters. So velocity, it has 2 randomization right now between a 50 and a 150. So we'll go 30 and a 70 to go velocity upwards. And then we'll do a multiplier literally to influence the strength. And it was 30. And we'll create a parameter out of this. So drop down make, and user parameter right there, and we have it in here. It's called velocity speed minimum, but what I will do is right click, rename, and I will call it Embers, and it will be, instead of scale, it's gonna be velocity scale. All right, or strength as well. So STRENGTH, right? NGTH, perfect. Yes, I'm dyslexic, but we're gonna get it working. So multiply, here we go, multiply float, and we're gonna get that from 70 all the way to which one do we want to do? From 70 all the way to the user. So user parameter of the velocity strength, and put that MFR in here. Save that and go back to the blueprint. Oops, what's happening? Go back to the blueprint and let's see it again. And now we're gonna go with the velocity. We're gonna play around with the velocity. If we click on the actual thing here, and so this one can literally have a whole different velocity now from the other one. So if I put this to 100, now we have a whole different asset that's gonna act differently, right? So it's gonna have, like, let's say 5 times more velocity. It's gonna go more upwards like this. But for now, we are gonna go with less velocity, so 0.7. And or we can do a drag parameter here, so drag strength basically. We can do that again with a multiply, right? So we're gonna go with a 2 in here, and we're gonna do a user now from this. Make a user. What is it called? The user. Make user parameter. Here we go. And this one will be called, right click, rename, and it's gonna be help me here, Ember's drag strength as well. STREGNTH. NG strength, yeah. NG. Why is G there anyway? Yep. And we have a multiply in here as well. Multiply float, and it's gonna be up to 8. And we're gonna drag and drop our drag strength in here. Perfect. Now we have more drag generally, right? And yeah, we need way more drag on this thing. So we're gonna go with 5 and 15. Yeah, it's not bad. And let's go back to the blueprint. Yeah, and now at least we can actually influence that from here and say, yo, our drag needs more or less, right? So we have, we didn't save it. Yeah, we didn't save it. So save that and go back to the blueprint, and this should allow us now to add drag or make it less. Ember's noise force strength. This is the noise. So if we make that more, it will do more movement in the noise. And if we make the velocity, god damn it, where is it? Why am I not seeing the drag? What am I missing? Do we have drag here? Yeah, it's down there. Okay, so let's save. Back to the blueprint. Or maybe I have to choose it again. So uncheck it, check it again. Drag, yes, here it is. Let's do 2. And now it should do less, less roaming around. And it will go not so much upwards, basically. Yeah, or 0.5, 1.5, something like that. Let's see what we can do. Okay. Perfect. We got a lot of parameters working now. It's important to just test things and not focus too much on the final result for now. So we're going to go back to the course and learn some more. Boom. Next, complete and continue.
Let's get a few.
Next one.
Okay, so let's look at our texture for our embers. Now, when it comes to textures, the reason why I'm showing you the complete texture is because it's easier to explain my thought process rather than just starting to build nodes and then go from there. Now, on things like Houdini, where we're going to create meshes and do a little bit more advanced stuff, I will be going from start to finish. But for textures, I found that this is the easiest way to showcase this. You'll have this file, so you can go back and look through it, dissect it, create your own texture as well. But I want to share more the thought and the theory behind what I'm doing. So we have ash and embers, and if you Google embers and ash textures, you can see different shapes. And so my first shape, I just started off with a square. So nothing special, just a square. And I'll click on all these nodes so you can at least see my settings of what I did. Then I'm going into a quad transform grayscale and just starting to manipulate it a little bit further on just the edges here. Then I want to start warping that. So this is my macro warp. I'm just going to throw down a Perlin noise, get that a little bit bigger, and then do a nice warp. Now I would encourage you to follow along with me. So if you do have Substance Designer and you would like to build this along with me, you can pause, you can try to get to the results I've gotten to as you see the rest of this graph. Whatever you would like to do, but I definitely encourage you to follow along with me here. All right, so without breaking too much more concentration, my next warp is just going to break it up even more, so I get a little bit more detail around the edge. And I'm using a cells here. So if I go cells, you see we have different options. This is cells 4. This is where it starts. So I've scaled that quite a bit there. And then I'm just blurring it a little bit so that we have some good grayscale information to do the warp on this. Now I will explain this next part in a little bit, but the goal here is to get my alpha so that I can use that to mask everything out, and then to get an edge. I want somewhat of an edge glow that I'll break up here in a minute. So I'm blurring my edge so that I have a little bit of grayscale information around the side. And if I take a histogram select, I love this node. This gives you really good edges. And let me show you, I'll just drop down one. So automatically you can see it starts to find different areas within there. And you can mess around with that as much as you want. Contrast will make those edges harder. You can see I was able to get a little bit of an edge from that. And I'll use this to get interior edges and all sorts of stuff. But this allows me to start breaking up an edge, and then you'll see how I'm getting more edges with another histogram select. So again, this is our alpha. So I'm leaving that alone, and I'm going to use that over here. Then I have my edge, and I wanted to break up the edge. I don't want to have a perfect edge around my embers. I'm basically creating an emissive mask for my embers. So I want the edge to have a little bit of emissive around it, and then I want the interior to have some emissive in it, just to show that residual burning from the embers there. So I've taken the same cells and run it through a slope blur grayscale. You can see there. And whenever I use a slope blur grayscale, for the most part, I invert and run it through that, and that'll start to give me a little bit more rounder shapes in there. And then I'm going to warp that just using the same information. You can see I start getting a little bit more organic, net-like nature to this texture. I'm throwing down another cells 4 here, blurring that, and then using that to do a multi-directional warp grayscale, which will make this even more organic feeling and start to separate some of the edges of those grayscale values. So I'm getting something that's looking a little bit more organic. Now here's another use case of a slope blur grayscale, where instead of inverting this, I want the edges to be a little bit crispier. So if I go here, you can see this difference when I switch. See, I get a little bit of this crispiness right here. This works really well for concrete, by the way, this technique. Throw a fractal sun base in there, and that's how I'm getting those nice little crispy edges. Now, does that matter? You don't necessarily see them. Not tremendously, but a little bit when you start throwing in a normal texture and some of that emissive data coming through, the way that it breaks up in the texture. So it will, just a little bit. Then I'm just gonna multiply these together because I want to go ahead and isolate this as the shape, the correct shape of the embers. Do my histogram select again, and now you can see because of wherever these grayscale values fall in here, I get some nice edge breakup and even some good chunky islands right here. And you can see, now you can see those crispy edges and how that really factors in once we throw in our histogram select. So now we have some really good emissive data coming through. Now, after that, I am toning this down a little bit, throwing a levels on my slope blur so that I can see what that's doing there. Just brightening it up a little bit so I have a little bit of tonal variation in this next pass, which I'm just multiplying that. And then I'm gonna blur that a little bit more so that the edges aren't so harsh. Okay. Now what did I do up here? I used that slope blur grayscale information with all the organic stuff to break up the edges a little bit more so that it's not all just one on the edge. Then I used a histogram scan. So if I throw down a histogram scan, you can see nothing happens right away. You start to move your position. And so I can just automatically through that break up the edges, do a little more contrasting, whatever I want to do. So I've got that histogram scan in there to break up the edges further. So now I'm just getting a hint of emissive around certain parts. I want to blur that just a hair. So this blur grayscale, I mean, you can see it is very low. It's at 0.35. And that's to keep it from aliasing around the edges. I find if I give a very, very slight blur, from far away, I still get the crispy image, but it gives me a little bit more of a smooth edge so that it doesn't look all artifacty later on. All right, so then I'm just adding those together, and you can see I get some nice bright edges mixed in with this emissive on the interior. And so now this is my emissive mask. So my goal, alpha, emissive mask, and then in here is some extra detail for color variation. So this grayscale, these grayscale values will allow me to create a variation in the color so that it's not all just black or gray or whatever. I can make this embers have a little bit of an ashy tone to it. So just like I usually do, I will create an RGBA merge node. And if you go down to your channel separator, you can see in the red channel, we have our alpha. Green has our best bit of information. Green is the least compressed channel. So red is still compressed. Green is the least compressed. Blue is probably one of the worst. So I usually put whatever my lower end data is in the blue channel. And my highest in the green, alpha is safe to put in the red. Why am I not putting alpha in alpha? Because I don't want this to have an alpha channel and cost me extra texture resource size. So I'm not going to waste the resources on an alpha channel if I don't actually need it. I can keep that in the red channel and use that as my alpha, no problem. All right? So, and we don't have an additional texture we need to pack to get in there, so it's not important. Now, if I did have 4 channels I need to pack, I'd throw that alpha in the alpha channel. That would be the best channel for that. Okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and stop this video right here, and in the next video we're going to round out our texture, and I'm going to finish off with some variations and also show you a trick for creating subgraphs to process your textures.
So here I feel like it would have been a bit more helpful to see in comparison to what's going to happen in the engines, right? So not just only show the texture, but also show what we're going to do with that texture, like as a 5-minute intro here or 1-minute intro, just to see why we're doing this, right? And then we would have continued, right? And then but I mean, basically we can do the same by skipping, but I don't want to skip. I want to keep the rest of the week 1 for next week Wednesday for the stream. But hey, you know what? If you're curious about the course and you want to go on your own pace or whatever, I will again paste the code JTG20 to get it for 20% off. It's a so far been really good course, and you can view it on your own pace for now. I'll stop and feed the cats, and I'll say, yeah, if you like the video, if you like the stream, subscribe, leave a follow or something on Twitch. I appreciate it. If you didn't like it, let me know why. And yeah, I'll see you with the next one. Next week, definitely the same time, to continue this DoubleJump Academy course. Otherwise, I'll be streaming other courses in the meantime, so you could check these out as well. All right, everybody, peace out. My cats are very annoyed. See y'all later. Salam. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Goodbye.